2 days later, at the Reed estate, the results of the advanced calculus competition were out, and the nationals were only 2 weeks away. It was time for Leo to head to Westlake City. He still hadn't managed to get his driver's license, but Julian had already bought him a car. After all, Ava had passed her test. Julian was still in awe of his sister's innate talent behind the wheel. He'd even dared to let her take him for a couple of laps. When he got out, all he could say was that it was an eye-opening experience. She was a natural-born wheelman, a terrifying prodigy. Now, standing in front of the new car at the entrance of the estate, Leo and the others were all smiles. Except for Kane. He couldn't understand why he was being dragged along to Westlake City. His retirement had barely lasted a few days, and now he was being put back to work. The main reason was that Leo's group planned to drive, and since it was a long haul, they needed Kane to split the driving with Ava. Hey. Leo grinned, stroking the car's body affectionately. He might not be the one driving it, but it was his car. Ava, you have to take care of yourself in Westlake City, Julian instructed. Relax, bro. I'm not a kid anymore. Why do you still treat me like one? Ava pouted. Julian's mouth twitched as he glanced at Leo. He had a bad feeling that Leo's trip to Westlake City was not going to be a quiet one. He was genuinely worried for the city. With that thought, Julian couldn't help but pull Leo into a corner. You're sure you're just going for a competition and then coming right back, right? Leo looked up at him, annoyed. Julian, I think you have a misunderstanding about who I am. What did you just call me? Bro, what's the problem? Julian's fist clenched. He took a deep breath. Don't get angry. It's not worth it. Listen, the situation in Westlake City is nothing like Ethelberg, he said. From what I know, there are only two major players there now, the CF family and the Thorn family. Both are apex families. Unlike the constant backstabbing between the families in Ethelberg, the Siez and the Thorns aren't rivals. In fact, they cooperate. Leo's eyebrows shot up. So, you're saying there are no major conflicts in Westlake City right now? No. Julian shook his head. On the contrary, while their conflict isn't as complicated as ours, it's far more difficult to handle. The conflict in Westlake City is between the syndicates and the BSO. For some reason, the Westlake BSO branch acts like they have a blood feud with the Sia and Thorn families. The two sides are constantly at each other's throats. Leo sucked in a sharp breath. The Westlake BSO was that dedicated? Compared to them, the Ethelberg branch spent their days playing cards. They had nothing to do and all the time in the world to do it. It made the Ethelberg BSO look lazy. Leo was slightly indignant. They were all BSO agents, so why couldn't the Westlake branch just slack off? If they didn't embrace the quiet quitting culture, how could the Ethelberg branch slack off in peace? What? What are you thinking? Julian noticed a strange glint in Leo's eyes. Nothing. I was just wondering if I should take the opportunity to straighten out the Westlake BSO. Straighten out my ass. Julian knew it. This guy was incapable of staying out of trouble. He grabbed Leo by the collar and hissed. You will get to Westlake City, you will behave yourself, you will take your damn test, and you will enjoy your vacation. Do you hear me? Yeah, fine. You will not go anywhere near the Westlake BSO. I won't. You will not blow anything up in Westlake City. I'll try my best. What do you mean, you'll try your best? Julian felt a headache coming on, his voice rising. If something happens, the Reed family can't help you. It's Westlake City, not our turf. All right. Leo patted the hand, gripping his collar. I was just kidding. I'm a model citizen of Ethelberg. Why would I go around blowing things up? Besides, he added, Captain Crunch and Rocket are both back at the estate. What would I even use for demolitions? Julian's expression darkened. Why on earth did he associate a squirrel and a raccoon with explosives? Were they essential components for detonation? Bro, are you guys done yet? Ava called out, growing impatient. She wanted to drive. Kane had already loaded their luggage. It was just the three of them, so there wasn't much. Leo waved to her, then patted Julian's shoulder. Relax, Julian. I, Leo Evans, give you my word. I will be on my best behavior in Westlake City. Happy now. With that, he walked over to Ava. That kid. Julian watched the three of them get into the car. Then it suddenly hit him. Did that little punk just call him Julian again? Clenching his fists, Julian muttered to himself. Just you wait. You think you're marrying Ava without putting up at least $1 million for her future? Humph. Sitting in the back seat, Leo was completely oblivious to the fact that he'd just been added to Julian's blacklist. The moment they were in, Ava slammed her foot on the gas, and the car shot forward. Kane, in the passenger seat, had his seatbelt cinched tight, his face a mask of grim determination. It was his first time riding with Ava behind the wheel. Half an hour later, however, he fully understood what it meant to be a natural-born wheelman. It It was terrifying. She just gotten her license, yet she drove with the steadiness of a seasoned pro. Compared to... Kane glanced sideways at Leo in the back seat. What's with that look? Ahem. Nothing. I just heard someone failed their skills test 3 times. Kane went straight for the jugular. Leo's face darkened. After a long moment, he smiled. Kane, my friend, there's something you might not know. What? Seeing Leo smile, Kane felt a sudden sense of foreboding. Leo pulled the BSO contract he'd signed with Director Jensen from his pocket and casually handed it to Kane. Old Kane. Oh no, I should call you Junior Kane from now on. Leo adopted a bureaucratic tone. Effective immediately, you have been assigned to work under my command. Kane took the document, glanced at it, and saw his name on the list. In an instant, the same soul-crushed expression Alex Young had worn was perfectly replicated on Kane's face. This is impossible. Kane refused to accept it. It's a fake. It has to be a fake. Face reality, Junior Kane. Leo laced his hands behind his head, looking askance at the older man. It's all there in black and white. Are you going to tell me that family seal isn't a Reed family's? Kane's eyes shot back to the document. It was, without a doubt, the Reed family crest. But how was that possible? The seal was always with the family head. Wait, hold on. That meant... Kane's eyes widened as the realization dawned on him. Anthony Reed had sold him out. Seeing Kane completely stunned, Leo started to worry if he'd be able to drive properly. The last thing he needed was for Kane to drive his new car into a ditch. Ultimately, no matter how unwilling he was, Kane gritted his teeth and accepted his new reality. So what if he was working under Leo? He was used to being bossed around by the kid anyway. Now it was just a little more official. Kane repeated this to himself, his heart turning to ash. He was convinced Leo was his personal curse. Leo, on the other hand, couldn't care less about Kane's mental state. He'd gotten his revenge. That's what you get for mocking my driving skills. Junior Kane, once you're on the job, you need to watch what you say and do, Leo said sagely. Kane didn't respond, grinding his teeth so hard they nearly cracked. Phew, I'm done. That was tiring. Ava let out a long breath and pulled the car over. She turned to Kane in the passenger seat. Kane, your turn. Kane? Question mark. Leo. Young miss, you've only been driving for a few miles, and you're already quitting? Weren't you dying to get behind the wheel? Was this whole thing just a whim? Unbeknownst to them, Ava had found the process of driving utterly boring. Just sitting there, holding the steering wheel, unable to do anything else. She'd rather let Kane drive, so she could find a show to watch. By the time it was over, they'd be in Westlake City. Click! Ava opened the door, ready to switch seats with Kane. Kane's eyes widened, and he whipped his head around to look at Leo. This wasn't part of the deal. I thought you said we were switching off. Leo's mouth twitched. Looking at Ava, he had a feeling she wouldn't be driving again. Well, did we switch or not? Leo paused, his voice full of mock sympathy. Junior Kane, I'd love to help you, but as you know, I don't have a license. Leo spread his hands, a picture of helplessness. In the end, Kane, the veteran driver, took the wheel of Leo's new car with a completely blank expression. He swore that if he ever trusted a word Leo said again, he was a dog. Leo. Hand me the tablet, Ava said from the passenger seat, holding her hand out. She was ready for her show. As for why she wasn't sitting in the back with Leo, because of the incident with the leg and the mosquito the other night, she'd been looking for a chance to get back at him. So when she got in the car today, she'd simply said people without a license should sit quietly in the back. And so, Leo had obediently taken a back seat. His punishment was no cuddling with Ava. Leo grabbed Ava's small backpack from the seat next to him to get the tablet. Suddenly, his brow furrowed. Why was it so heavy? You've got to be kidding me. Leo had a terrible premonition. He mechanically unzipped the bag. Sure enough, a white feline head popped out. Meow. It was stuffy in there. You stupid cat. What are you doing here again? Leo's eyes went wide as he grabbed Reggie by the scruff of his neck and lifted him up. What did you sneak in here? Reggie stuck his tongue out, his eyes guiltily darting to the side. He'd been cooped up at home for far too long and wanted to get out and play. He'd been locked up during the whole Crucible incident, too. He was bored to death. Being a stray was better than this. Hearing the commotion, Ava turned around, her face a picture of surprise. How did you get out? She took Reggie from Leo and cradled him in her arms, gently tapping his head. Who said you could come out? Didn't I tell you to stay home and eat your food? Meow, meow, meow. Who do you think that little bit of food is going to feed? Reggie was just now realizing that Ava was as clueless as Leo. The cat food at home was almost gone, and neither of them had noticed. He'd already started rationing by eating ham, just in case he ran out completely. The key problem was, every time he tried to tell Ava, she completely misunderstood him, thinking he was just asking for cuddles. As for Leo, the moment Reggie told him, it went in one ear and out the other. It wasn't easy living in this house. What should we do? Should we take him back? Ava asked, turning her head. Leo stared at Reggie and sighed. We're already this far out. There's no point. Just bring him along. Meow. Thank you. He was surprisingly polite. Leo handed the tablet to Ava, then took out his own phone and started a game. Time for some TFT. And so, Ava sat in the front, petting the cat and binge-watching her show. Leo sat in the back, playing his game. Kane drove with a miserable look on his face, his bitterness so thick it could choke a demon. Several hours later, the three of them and one cat finally arrived in Westlake City. Exhausted, Kane continued driving toward the hotel. Ava had fallen asleep with Reggie in her arms. The show was still playing, and Reggie was watching it with great interest. As for Leo, all in, all in, all in. Come on, just one more. The last one. Damn it, this game is trash. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. The screen went dark. Leo had gotten 8th place. That was the fate of a high roller. You don't even get a place. Just then his phone rang. Ethan Sia. Leo answered. Yo, what's up? Are you in Westlake City yet? Just got here. I thought you said you weren't picking us up. Cut the crap. Send me the hotel location. Leo's mouth twitched. He hung up, sent the address to Ethan, and couldn't help but feel a little confused. Why did Ethan sound so eager? Leo couldn't figure it out. Something fell off. Half an hour later, they arrived at the hotel. Leo gently shook Ava awake. Just as they got out of the car, he heard someone call his name. Leo. Leo followed the sound. Not far away, a man with a similar build to his own, handsome and wearing a brown trench coat, was waving at him with a smile. Ava, just out of the car, froze for a second and looked at Leo quizzically. That's Ethan Sia, Leo explained with a sigh. So that's him. Ava studied Ethan with curiosity. This was Leo's friend from high school? You got here early, Ethan said, walking up to Leo. He then stepped aside, looking impatient. I want you to meet someone. Behind him stood a tall, beautiful woman. This is Lucia Shang, my girlfriend, Ethan said with a beaming smile. Girlfriend? Leo's mouth twitched. Didn't you tell me just the day before yesterday that you were single? And now you magically have a girlfriend? Hello, I'm Lucia Shang. Ethan's told me all about you, Lucia said with a smile, graciously extending her hand to Leo. Hi. Leo shook her hand politely, then asked, so, did you two meet on, like, a reputable app or something? Leo, are you insane? Ethan aimed a kick at him. Leo deftly dodged. Just kidding, ha ha ha. He scratched his head, then began introducing Ava and Kane. This is my girlfriend, Ava. Hi, everyone. Ava waved with a sweet smile. Ethan sized her up and couldn't help but think that Leo must have saved the galaxy in a past life to land such a beautiful girlfriend. And this is Kane. He's my partner. After a moment's thought, Leo settled on the word partner. After all, accomplice didn't sound very professional. Hearing the word partner, Kane's mouth twitched. He shot a glare at Leo before shaking Ethan's hand amicably. You guys go get checked in. I'll take you out for dinner later, Ethan said with a smile, turning to Kane. The barbecue here in Westlake City is famous. Kane and Ava couldn't help but study Ethan with curiosity. He was Leo's friend, but he was completely different from Leo in every way. He seemed like a normal person. Sensing their strange looks, Leo asked, What is it? Is there something on my face? And nothing. Let's just go check in, Ava said, holding Reggie and pulling Leo towards the hotel lobby. Kane followed with the luggage. Ethan offered to help, but Kane politely refused. There wasn't much luggage, and he could easily handle it himself. After the three had gone inside, Lucia walked over to Ethan. Watching Leo and Ava's retreating backs, she said in a low voice, No wonder you insisted I come. It was all to save face, wasn't it? Haha, it's just that Leo is so infuriating. And I have a girlfriend too, so why should I have to watch him show off? Ethan chuckled, gently wrapping his arm around Lucia's waist and holding up 4 fingers. I promise, just for today, no one will find out. Lucia rolled her eyes at him. You know our relationship can't be public yet, right? She said. If my father finds out, you and your family are going to have a major headache. The words sent a wave of anxiety through Ethan. He sighed softly. If it weren't for that, he would have gone public with Lucia ages ago. He wouldn't be sneaking around like this. Even picking up Leo required planning a route in advance to avoid being spotted. Once their relationship was exposed, it could at worst shift the entire power dynamic in Westlake City. All right, I'll try my best to work harder so we can go public sooner, okay? Ethan took Lucia's hand, his voice soft and coaxing. A smile played on Lucia's lips, but she didn't say anything. Ethan knew this was her way of showing she was pleased. What? Just then, Kane's startled cry came from nearby. Ethan quickly went inside to see what was wrong. The three of them, plus one cat, were standing at the front desk, their expressions grim. What's wrong? What happened? Ethan asked Leo. It's serious. There are only 2 rooms left, Leo said gravely. What's the problem with that? Ethan looked at the 3 of them. You and Ava take one room. Kane takes the other. It works out perfectly, doesn't it? The front desk clerk stepped in to explain. The issue is, we only have 2 king-sized rooms left, so they're having a bit of a disagreement about the allocation. Given, Ava, out of shyness and propriety, did not want to share a room with Leo. Kane and Leo mutually despised each other and refused to share a room. Question: which room should Reggie go to? Reggie, cradled in Ava's arms, trembled and dared not make a sound. In all their bickering, not once had they mentioned where to put him. Ethan listened, his head starting to ache. Couldn't they have booked this in advance before leaving? I'm a girl. I should get my own room, Ava declared. Whatever, as long as I'm not rooming with Leo, Kane stated. Leo looked left and right. He took a deep breath. In that case, let's draw lots. He got a paper napkin from the front desk, tore it into 3 strips, 2 long, 1 short. Whoever draws the short one has to stay at the hotel across the street. There was another hotel opposite them, though it was a bit run down. Ava and Kane considered it and agreed. To ensure fairness, they decided to have Ethan hold the strips to prevent Leo from cheating. Ethan accepted the strips, completely baffled. Lucia stood by, equally speechless. What kind of situation was this? The 3 of them drew their strips with grave expressions. Leo took deep breaths, trying to calm his racing heart. He hadn't been this nervous, even when facing the Foam Alliance in the Crucible. Go! They all revealed their strips at the same time. And the unlucky soul who had to stay across the street was Leo. Ava and Kane covered their mouths, trying to stifle their laughter. Leo proposed the game, and Leo lost. Then it's settled. Kane and I each get a room, Ava said with a smile. You'll just have to rough it at the hotel across the street. Leo stared at the strip in his hand in disbelief, refusing to accept reality. TSK. Ethan walked over and patted Leo's shoulder. After all these years, your luck is as consistently terrible as ever. The moment Leo had suggested the game, Ethan had a feeling he knew who would lose. In high school, Leo had never once won a game of chance. He loved to play, but he was awful at it. At least he was a good sport about losing. With tears in his eyes, Leo shouldered his small bag and started the walk of shame toward the other hotel, turning back every 3 steps. In his hand, he carried a dejected-looking Reggie. Meow. Why are you taking me with you? What are you complaining about? As your designated poop scooper, shouldn't we share the good times and the bad? Meow. I deal with my own poop. As man and cat argued, a strange meow suddenly cut in. Meow. Spike. Leo and Reggie froze, looking toward the sound. A tabby cat was staring at them in astonishment. When it got a clear look at Reggie's face, it meowed again. Meow. Spike, how did you become a house cat? As Reggie remained silent, the tabby's meows grew louder. Leo could tell it was mocking him. He looked down at Reggie. Wanting to rough him up for you. Meow. Put me down. Reggie calmly raised a paw, signaling for Leo to release his scruff. The affairs of feline society should be handled by felines. The moment he was on the ground, Reggie launched himself at the tabby, unleashing a flurry of cat punches. Leo was worried he wouldn't win. Tabbies were notoriously tough fighters. But to his surprise, Reggie was completely dominating the other cat. Thwack, 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 meow. You think you can get smart with me? Thwack, 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 meow, meow. You think you can meow at me now? Thwack, 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 meow, meow, meow. So what if I'm a house cat? Did I eat your ham? Reggie pummeled the tabby, meowing a stream of curses. Leo watched, dumbfounded. Was this the same pathetic little white cat he'd found downstairs? Was this cat really 8 years old? After the tabby limped away in defeat, Reggie trotted over to Leo and shook his scruff. Meow, 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 meow. Carry me. Let's see who dares to meow at me now. All right away, Spike. Leo obediently complied, picking Reggie up again. His entire perception had been shattered. He never would have guessed Reggie could be so fierce. He'd always thought the cat was only good for eating. Turns out, this little white cat really was from the streets. Spike, you don't have your own syndicate, do you? Meow. No, I built my empire from scratch. I see, I see. So where did you learn all these skills? Meow. Live on the streets long enough, and your paws get hard. I understand. I've learned a great deal, Spike, Leo said humbly. To express his newfound respect for Reggie, Leo even booked a room with 2 beds. The least he could do was give his big bro Reggie his own bed, right? After settling in, Leo went out to meet up with Ava and the others. Ethan was taking them to get barbecue. Meanwhile, in Westlake City at the Thorne estate, the family head, Mason Thorne, was meeting an unexpected guest in his private study. Master Thorne, it's been a while. A man sat across from Mason, his voice low and tinged with mockery. Mason was practicing calligraphy and didn't even look up. I never thought the Vance Dominion would send you, Zeke phoned. Hey. What can I say? Rose died in the crucible, so I had no choice but to step in. Zeke's smile vanished, his expression turning serious. The young master has given the order. It's time for the Thorne family to make its move. Mason's brush paused. After a long moment, he set it down and looked up at Zeke. What does the young master need from the Thorne family? 3 things. Zeke held up 3 fingers, speaking slowly. First, kill a few people. He pulled several photos from his pocket and tossed them onto the desk in front of Mason. They were pictures of Leo, Ava, and Kane. They're from the Reed family in Ethelberg City. They should have arrived in Westlake City by now. The young master says they cannot be allowed to live. Why? Mason glanced at the photos. They don't look like anything special. What if I told you they're connected to Rose's death? The statement made Mason's pupils contract. He couldn't help but study the photos more closely. The younger-looking boy is named Leo Evans. He's a university student. Rose was shot and killed shortly after he arrived on the island. Furthermore, less than 2 days after his arrival, the Foam Alliance was wiped out. Zeke paused, then added, It's hard to believe, I know, but the young master says that when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Mason was silent for a long time. He slowly walked around the desk and sat opposite Zeke, pouring himself a cup of tea. If even Rose died at his hands, how is my Thorne family supposed to kill him? He asked. And you, Zeke Foam, a top player on the Hero Index, why don't you do it yourself? Zeke chuckled. Because I'm afraid of dying, and my Thorne family isn't. Master Thorne, you don't have a choice. Zeke leaned forward slightly, his voice a low whisper. Don't forget, your family's charter is in the young master's hands. The Thorne family wouldn't be where it is today without his help. The words struck a nerve. Mason took a deep breath. What are the other 2 things? With that, Zeke knew Mason had agreed. He continued, the second thing, your cooperation with the CF family has gone on long enough. It's time for it to end. The young master wants you to absorb them. Mason slowly closed his eyes. For years, the Thorne and CF families had maintained a harmonious relationship. This would be a complete betrayal. But he had no choice. He knew from the beginning that this day would come. And the third, Mason asked, his eyes still closed, his voice heavy. The third is simple. Zeke produced another photo and handed it to Mason. This man is named Dr. Quentin Marks. Find him. Zeke paused, then repeated himself for emphasis. Even if you have to turn Westlake City upside down, you find him. This third task is 100 times more important than the first 2. Do you understand? Hearing this, Mason opened his eyes, his brow furrowed. Quentin Marks? You seem to have heard that name somewhere before. For Leland Vance to issue such an order, to find him at all costs. Could it be? Is he connected to the Manhattan incident? Mason's gaze was sharp. If that were true, then this man was of immense importance. Master Thorne, some things are better left unasked. Zeke raised a finger to his lips. It's enough that you understand. Mason took a deep breath. Zeke's reaction was all the confirmation he needed. Crash. Suddenly, there was a noise from outside the door. Zeke's expression changed. He shot up from his seat and threw the door open. A small, slender girl was picking herself up off the floor, rubbing her knee. It looked like she had just fallen. Melina? Mason said quickly. This is my daughter, Melina. She's not an outsider. Zeke ignored him, his eyes fixed on Melina. Little girl, how much did you just hear outside that door? Who are you? Melina rubbed her knee and glared at Zeke. I was just passing by and slipped. Who would want to eavesdrop on 2 old men talking? Zeke's eyes were dark as he stared at her. A small dagger appeared in his hand, hidden from her view, ready to strike. Zeke, I told you she is my daughter. Melina couldn't see it, but Mason, standing behind Zeke, saw the blade. If you touch her, I guarantee you won't walk out of this estate today. Mason's voice was devoid of emotion, but it was filled with threat. Zeke stopped, glancing back at Mason with annoyance. This old fool. After weighing his options, he made the dagger disappear. Master Thorne, you jest. Miss Thorne is so beautiful. How could I bear to harm her, he said. It's getting late. I won't disturb you any longer. Farewell. Zeke turned and walked out. As he passed Melina, he slowed his pace, his eyes sweeping over her for a moment. He still didn't act, but he memorized her face. Just because he didn't act now didn't mean he wouldn't later. Melina trembled. The feeling of being watched by a predator sent a chill through her entire body. After Zeke was long gone, she took several deep breaths, looking at his retreating figure with lingering fear. "Dad, who is that?" "Quiet." Mason's sharp command cut her off. "For the next month, you are not to leave this estate." "Why not?" Melina protested. "Because I am your father." Mason stared at her. "Who gave you the nerve to eavesdrop on my conversations? Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused? Then why are you betraying the CF family?" Melina's eyes turned red. "If you do this, how am I ever going to face brother Ethan again?" With those words, Mason knew. Melina had heard everything. "He doesn't even like you. Why are you so obsessed with him?" "I like him. That's enough." Mason sighed deeply. He had no idea what kind of spell Ethan Sia had cast on his daughter to make her love him so unconditionally. "Melina, forget about that Sia boy." Mason swore that if he had known Melina would fall for Ethan at first sight, he would never have let them meet. Now his own daughter was suffering from unrequited love. Ethan, meanwhile, only saw Melina as a little sister. It pained Mason to watch his daughter's constant simpering. "You'll understand when you're older," Mason said with a heavy heart. "Compared to other things, love is not important at all." Melina clenched her fists, silent. Seeing this, Mason sighed again. He knew his words were falling on deaf ears. A girl in love was a lost cause. "Go back to your room." All the words he wanted to say boiled down to that single command. Mason left, leaving Melina alone. A few tears splashed onto the floor. She felt so helpless. She knew what was about to happen, but was powerless to stop it. She knew that from this moment on, she wouldn't be allowed to take a single step outside the estate. The thing she had heard could never be allowed to get out. "Brother Ethan, what should I do?" Melina hugged her knees, squatting on the floor and sobbing quietly. The sudden turn of events had left the young girl utterly lost. Cheers! At a barbecue joint in Westlake City, Leo's group was happily clinking their glasses. Even Ava had a little to drink, her cheeks flushed. Reggie was lying to the side, nibbling on a chicken wing. Life was good. It was much better than the 5-color chicken wings Ava made. "Oh, by the way, have you guys heard about Leo's dark past from high school?" Ethan asked casually, munching on a piece of grilled meat. "Ethan, if you shut your mouth, no one will think you're mute." Leo immediately grew frantic. No way, you guys seriously don't know about the legendary exploits of Leo Evans?" Ethan completely ignored Leo's threat. Ava and Kane's eyes lit up with interest. "What dark past? Spill it now." Hiv. Ethan gave a mysterious smile, glanced at Leo, and began. "Back then, we were in the same class. I was the class president, and Leo was the vice president." And then, Lucia was also intrigued. Only Leo was burying his head in his food, seemingly resigned to his fate. And then, in order to seize power and get rid of the vice in his title, he voluntarily joined the Student Disciplinary Committee, which had the heaviest workload. Ethan stifled a laugh. This guy chain-smoked 3 cigarettes just to infiltrate our school's smoking crew, and the moment he got in, he backstabbed them all. For busting the biggest bathroom vaping ring in our grade, he was named an outstanding student leader, staged a coup, and took my position as class president. Because of that incident, our moron of a principal even praised him in front of the whole school and organized a campus-wide vape destruction day, where they burned all the confiscated vapes on the spot. TSK. That day, the entire school was filled with a thick, sickly sweet fog. So many people got sick from the fumes, they didn't even come to school the next day. Our principal got fired for it, too. After finishing his story, Ethan pointed at Leo. This kid, with one single act, created a butterfly effect that led to a complete overhaul of the high school education system in Ethelberg. At this, everyone's eyes fell on Leo, especially Kane and Ava, who, as Ethelberg residents, had faint memories of the incident Ethan described. "So, you mean to tell me you were the source of the Great Vape Cloud incident?" Kane's mouth twitched. He hadn't forgotten that because of the incident, the 3 major Ethelberg families had been investigated by the BSO. The cloud of vapor was so thick that people thought they were burning something illegal. The 3 families were the immediate suspects. They were only cleared after it was discovered to be just vapes. To think that the source of such a major citywide event was just Leo wanting to be class president. Bullshit. What's that got to do with me? Leo retorted, his mouth full of meat. It was just that one of the vapors had it out for me and said he was going to jump me after school. So, when I busted their little club, I told the principal he was the ringleader. Leo swallowed his food, unconcerned. I heard he got expelled later. That sounded exactly like something he would do. What happened after that? Didn't they come after Leo? Ava asked curiously. An act like that was bound to lead to retaliation. Before Ethan could answer, Leo confessed himself. Of course they did, but I set up a time to fight them, then secretly called the cops and had them all rounded up. Ava gave him a thumbs up. That's our Leo. With the mood set, they all raised their glasses for another toast. Leo, wanting to show you around West Lake University tomorrow. Ethan suggested. The Nationals are being held there. You can get used to the place in advance. That way you can't blame the venue when you lose to me. Hilarious. Leo snorted, tilting his head at Ethan. When have I ever lost to you? He wasn't wrong. In every calculus test, they both scored perfect marks, making it impossible to determine a winner. But privately, they both knew their skills were evenly matched. I think we should focus on friendship first, competition second, Lucia offered, trying to smooth things over. But Leo and Ethan shook their heads in unison. Friendship first, competition second. That's just an excuse for losers, Leo said. Exactly. First place should be about ruthlessly humiliating second place. Ethan nodded in agreement. Everyone else facepalmed. Now, they understood why these two were such good friends. They were two peas in a pod. At the end of the meal, Ethan, as the host, slipped away to the restroom and paid the bill. This made Ava and Kane feel a bit awkward, because Leo had eaten an obscene amount. The bill for the barbecue was $70, and Leo himself had probably eaten $50 worth. Your appetite has gotten huge, man, Ethan remarked, puzzled. He remembered Leo not eating that much back in the day. Ava also looked at Leo, completely baffled. It was one thing for him to eat so much, but how did he not gain any weight? It wasn't fair. It's not every day you're buying. I had to make it count, Leo said with a grin. Outside the restaurant, the group said their goodbyes to Ethan, having already made plans for him to give them a tour of WLU the next day. Leo, carry me. As soon as Ethan and Lucia were gone, Ava jumped onto Leo's back. I'm feeling a little dizzy. Hearing the change in her tone, Leo turned his head and his mouth twitched. Was she drunk? I'm so sleepy, Ava mumbled, closing her eyes as she lay on Leo's back. Leo supported her legs, feeling the soft weight against his back, and sighed. You shouldn't drink if you can't handle it. As far as he could remember, Ava had less than a full bottle of beer. Maybe half a bottle? She rarely drinks. She's basically a one-sip wonder, Kane explained from behind. We found out when she was younger that she has no tolerance for alcohol, so we all forbid her from drinking. Leo wanted to nod, but Reggie was perched on top of his head. The stupid cat refused to be carried by Kane and didn't want to walk on his own. Leo's hands were full, so Reggie had quite naturally made himself at home on Leo's head, messing up his hair in the process. By the time they got back to the hotel, Ava was fast asleep. Ava, don't sleep yet. Where's your key card? Leo whispered, standing in front of her room. Key card, Ava murmured with her eyes closed. Key card. It's in my clothes. In her clothes? Stupid cat, check her pockets. Quick, Leo commanded, looking up at Reggie. You've been sitting on my head for this long. Time to earn your keep. Reggie let out a soft yawn, stretched his forepaws, and arched his back. He lazily climbed down and, after some fumbling, pulled a black card from Ava's left pocket with his mouth. Beep! Leo swiped the card and successfully entered Ava's room. He gently placed her on the bed and let out a long breath, looking around. Damn, this place was way nicer than the hotel across the street. Ava frowned and rolled over on the bed. Leo stood with his hands on his hips, debating whether he should help her change. Sleeping in these clothes would be uncomfortable, right? But would it be wrong? It felt like taking advantage of the situation. While Leo was torn, Reggie had already found a comfortable spot and curled up to sleep. This place was much cozier. After a long deliberation, Leo finally made a decision. Time to act. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. What was there to be shy about? He knelt down and started taking off Ava's white sneakers. Then he reached out and removed her brown jacket. Leo, what are you doing? Ava mumbled drowsily. Stay still. I'm just helping you take off your jacket. Leo coaxed her while deftly removing it. With the jacket off, Ava was left in a simple white t-shirt. At this point, Leo decided to stop. If he went any further, he was afraid he wouldn't be able to control himself. He gently lifted Ava, pulled back the covers, and tucked her in. TSK, like wrapping a dumpling, he thought. Phew. With everything done, Leo breathed a sigh of relief and was about to grab the stupid cat and head back to his own hotel. Slap. His wrist was grabbed. Leo turned. Ava was holding his hand, mumbling vaguely, Pikachu. Leo. What the hell, Pikachu? Leo suddenly remembered that at home, Ava would hug her Pikachu doll almost every day, even when she slept. She thinks I'm that yellow rat. Leo's head started to ache. He knelt down beside the bed. Take a good look. Who am I? Ava's eyes fluttered open a crack. You're Leo, she murmured. Leo raised an eyebrow, about to speak when she added another line. Leo is Pikachu. Leo. Ava, that's going too far. So all this time, you've been treating that yellow rat like it was me? No wonder you're always punching Pikachu. You were punching me. Pikachu, sleep with me. Ava reached out with her other hand and pulled Leo onto the bed. Huh? Leo was a little stunned. Was Ava actually drunk or not? Why did he suddenly feel like the prey? Ava was like an octopus now, her arms and legs wrapped tightly around him. Sigh. Leo sighed. It looked like he was sleeping here tonight. If you can't fight it, enjoy it. Leo pulled the covers over himself and gently hugged Ava back. He lowered his head and kissed her on her red lips. Good night, Ava. Good night, Pikachu. Leo closed his eyes. 2 seconds later, he spoke again. Stupid cat, turn off the light, thanks. Meow. You're so annoying. Reggie reluctantly opened his eyes, ran to the wall, did a flying kick against the light switch, and turned it off. The room was plunged into darkness. Cuddled in Leo's arms, a sweet smile appeared on Ava's face. She stealthily opened one eye, full of triumph and cunning. Seeing that Leo was asleep, she snuggled in closer, wrapping her arms around him so they were pressed even tighter together. Good night, Leo, Ava thought to herself. The next morning, Leo opened his eyes. A cat's face filled his vision, so close it was almost touching his. Meow. I'm hungry. Leo checked his phone. 6 in the morning. He looked down. Ava was breathing evenly, sound asleep. I will punt your cat head across the room. You believe me? It's barely dawn and you're hungry, Leo mouthed, not making a sound. So, as not to wake Ava, he was using sign language with his lips. We humans only sleep at this hour, we don't eat. You're a cat. You need to learn to do as the locals do, understand? Meow. Reggie looked confused. What are you saying? Leo's mouth twitched. This stupid cat was useless. He couldn't even read lips. He gave Reggie a flick on the head, then waved a hand and mouthed a single word. Scram. Reggie held his head and walked away with tears in his eyes. After shooing the cat away, Leo looked down at Ava, feeling a wave of emotion. He had actually held her like this all night. Ava was still sound asleep, but Leo was wide awake now. He was alert. As if sensing something pressing against her, Ava frowned slightly, expressing her displeasure. Leo gave a wry smile. It wasn't like he could control it. Besides, his arm had been under her head all night and was starting to go numb. He tried to pull it out, but it was stuck. Leo, don't move, Ava mumbled, as if sensing his restless hand. Leo raised an eyebrow. So you know it's me? Not Pikachu. Now he was even more certain that Ava had been faking it last night, all part of a plot to have her way with him. Sure enough, a guy had to protect himself when he was out and about. Otherwise, he might just fall into a girl's trap one day. Ava, you awake? Leo called softly. Ava didn't respond, but Leo keenly sensed that her breathing had become uneven. She was awake. An idea sparked his mind. He grinned. If you're not awake, I'm going to kiss you. Still no response. Seeing this, Leo didn't hesitate. He lowered his head and pressed his lips against hers. Ava's eyes were still closed. She had been awake for a while, but was pretending to be asleep out of shyness. She never expected Leo to be so shameless, kissing her just like that. And he was using his tongue. Ava's eyes flew open. She gently patted Leo, signaling that she was awake now. But Leo didn't care. He continued kissing her. Ava's gaze grew hazy, and the hand that had been patting him somehow ended up wrapped around his neck. From initial awkwardness to practiced ease to a mutual give and take, the kiss lasted for a long, long time. It was only when Ava was nearly out of breath that their lips finally parted. Huh. Ava's face was bright red. She buried her head in Leo's chest, panting softly. Pervert, she muttered. Leo gently held her, licking his lips, wanting more. He lifted her face. Let's go again. I don't, MMPH. Before Ava could finish, her mouth was captured by his once more. When Kane, freshly showered, arrived at the dining hall for breakfast, he was surprised to see Leo and Ava already eating. Why were they up so early? He remembered Ava being a late sleeper. And why was Leo eating here? Wasn't he supposed to be at the hotel across the street? Nearby, Leo was hunched over his breakfast, silently drinking his coffee. His shoulder throbbed faintly where Ava had bitten him. Oomph. Ava gnawed on a bagel, letting out a cold snort. She still seemed angry. Kissing was one thing, but Leo's hands had not been idle, wandering all over the place. It was just over my clothes. Leo muttered under his breath. You still have the nerve to talk. Ava's face flushed red. She bit her lip and glared at him. And it wasn't just touching you. You squeezed. At her words, Leo's hand reflexively clenched in the air, as if savoring the memory. Smack. Seeing this, Ava threw her bagel at him. Leo deftly caught it in his mouth. Pervert, she whispered. Meow. So noisy. Reggie was on the table, lapping up milk from a small dish, his paws covering his ears. They were disturbing his solitude. Kane picked out his breakfast and, carrying his tray, was about to join them. But he stopped short. He keenly sensed that the atmosphere between Leo and Ava was off, and they're sitting farther apart than before. Though he didn't know what had happened, Kane decided that the best course of action was to stay far, far away from them. A little while later, Ethan arrived at the hotel right on time. As promised, he was taking them on a tour of Westlake University. Besides, he was a student there himself. Why are you alone? Leo asked, raising an eyebrow when he saw Ethan by himself. Where's your girlfriend? You mean Lucia? Ethan smiled. She's been busy lately. Yesterday was the only free time she had. So, you two really did meet on a reputable app? Leo asked suspiciously. Don't make me curse you out in such a pleasant atmosphere, Ethan said, his smile not reaching his eyes. Kane quickly intervened, and the two finally dropped it. However, downstairs, Leo and Ethan got into another argument. The topic of contention, whose car to take to the university. Leo insisted on taking his new car. Ethan, as the host, argued that his guests must ride in his car. You don't even have a license. How can you have the audacity to invite people to ride in your car? Ethan went straight for the kill, showing Leo no mercy. Leo immediately flew into a rage, rolling up his sleeves to fight Ethan. But halfway through, a threatening glare from Ava made him roll them back down. Oomph. Leo snorted stubbornly. For Ava's sake, he would let Ethan off the hook this time. In the end, after a vote, Ethan won by a narrow margin of 3-2. They all piled into Ethan's car. It was, after all, a much nicer car than Leo's. And of Leo's 2 votes, one was his own. The other was from Reggie, who had been coerced into raising a paw. It was a complete and utter defeat. An hour and a half later, they stood at the entrance of Westlake University. Whoa, this is impressive. Leo looked at the grand gates of WLU, feeling a pang of bitterness. He compared them to the gates of Ethelberg University. There was just no comparison. For a fleeting moment, Leo admitted he considered dropping out and reapplying. Sorry, old man Miller, but WLU is seriously amazing. Ethan walked over to the security booth, showed his ID, exchanged a few words, and the guard let them in. See that? That's the building for the national competition, Ethan said as they entered, pointing to a building in the distance. It's still open to everyone now, but 2 days before the competition, it'll be completely sealed off. Leo gazed at the building, and for some reason, an impulse stirred within him. A building that tall would be so satisfying to blow up. The thought appeared, and Leo shook his head forcefully. He was starting to think he was obsessed. His first thought about everything nowadays was demolition. Ethan led them around the campus until noon, when they finally arrived at the WLU cafeteria. Seeing WLU's chicken and potatoes, Leo's sense of balance was restored. Different university, same bland chicken and potatoes. And no inferno burritos. Major thumbs down. Ethelberg University was better. At least its cafeteria had burritos, even if they weren't that good. As for Reggie, he had been set free the moment they stepped on campus. He said he was going to make friends with the campus cats. Leo didn't stop him. After all, this was Spike. In today's feline society, who would dare mess with him? So spicy. Ava's face was red, sweat beading on her forehead. She stuck out her tongue, fanning her mouth with her hand. Who told you to get the Diablo chicken? Leo raised an eyebrow. He spotted a campus smoothie stand nearby. A drink shop inside the cafeteria. WLU was pretty forward-thinking. Wait here. I'll go get you some lemonade. Okay. Ava nodded. The spice was killing her. The food in Westlake City was so much spicier. She'd noticed it with the barbecue yesterday, but it hadn't been this bad. But one bite of this chicken, and she couldn't take it anymore. She was on the verge of tears. Hi, for lemonades, please. Coming right up. The employees at this place were fast. Before Leo could even blink, lemonades were packaged and sitting in front of him. Thanks. Leo picked up the drinks and turned around. Crash. Someone carrying a tray bumped into him, splashing grease all over his jacket. So sorry. The person quickly set their tray aside and bowed repeatedly in apology. Leo finally got a clear look at him. The man had graying hair, wore a face mask, and was dressed in a white lab coat. He looked like a WLU professor. It's okay, I wasn't paying attention. Please don't worry about it, Leo said, stopping him from bowing again. Before he could say more, another voice cut in. Professor, did you wander off again? A student in a WLU uniform hurried over. What happened? Oh, Henry, is that you? The man addressed as the professor explained, I wasn't watching where I was going and accidentally bumped into this student, getting his jacket dirty. It's really no problem, sir. You don't need to worry about it, Leo said, waving his hands. I'm fine, and the jacket is fine. I can just wash it when I get back. But this... The professor still looked guilty. The student named Henry spoke up. Hey, how about you leave an address? I can have the jacket cleaned and delivered to you. The professor, he has a hard time letting things go. If this isn't resolved, it'll probably weigh on his mind. Henry's voice was calm and steady. He'd clearly handled this before. Yes, the professor chimed in, pressing his hands together. Please, young man, give me a chance to apologize. Leo was taken aback, but also intrigued. This professor was certainly a unique character. He was kind and amiable, but also incredibly cautious, as if terrified of inconveniencing others. Since they were so insistent, Leo didn't stand on ceremony. He took off his jacket and handed it to Henry. Well, if you insist. Thanks. Leo and Henry exchanged contact information. As they parted, Henry promised he would get the jacket cleaned and deliver it personally. What an interesting pair, that professor and his student. Leo muttered, watching them walk away. He wondered why the professor was wearing a mask. Was he socially anxious? Leo shook his head with a smile and carried the lemonades back to the table. He was glad the incident was resolved quickly without causing a scene. If a crowd had gathered, someone might have filmed it, posted it online, and edited it maliciously. WLU student bullies elderly professor, forces him to bow an apology. Leo could already imagine the headline. If it had really blown up like that, he'd be torn to shreds by online trolls. Then a few eyewitnesses would pop up, adding their own inflammatory comments, and Leo wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the ocean. Of course, given the professor's character, he would probably set the record straight. But what would that matter? The keyboard warriors would offer a half-hearted apology and move on to their next target. It was meaningless. That's why Leo always avoided such situations if he could. And if he couldn't, well, that's when the Burrito King had to make an appearance. By the time Leo got back, Ava looked like she was about to breathe fire. She grabbed the lemonade he offered and chugged a third of it in one go. Maybe you should get something else like the chicken and potatoes? Leo suggested, seeing her about to dive back into the spicy food. Leave me alone. I like spicy food, Ava said stubbornly. Right, you like spicy food, and you're also stubborn as a mule, Leo thought silently, finishing his own meal in a few bites. Hey, where's your jacket? Ethan's question made everyone notice it was gone. Don't tell me you lent your jacket to some cute freshman while getting lemonade? Ethan deliberately fanned the flames. I mean, it is pretty cold. It's understandable if she wanted to borrow it, right, Ava? Ava looked up, her eyes glinting with a dangerous light. She stopped eating her Diablo chicken and just stared at Leo. You really can't help but stir up trouble, can you? Leo shot Ethan a look of utter contempt. Then, he recounted what had just happened. Ethan, do you know that professor? He seemed like a really nice guy. Professor? Ethan frowned, thinking for a moment before shaking his head. Not sure. I've only been at WLU for a year, but I have heard something. What? My advisor told me there's an old professor at our school who's brilliant at research. He often mentors them selflessly and is known for being incredibly kind. Ethan paused, but the strange thing is almost none of the faculty know his name. Someone started calling him the professor, and it just stuck. No one even knows his last name. And so far, I think he's only ever taken on one student as an assistant. Leo's senses tingled. Something wasn't right. Professor. Scholar. Hard to find. No one knows his name. Ethan, have you ever heard the name? Quentin Marks? No, never. Ethan replied without hesitation. Leo frowned. Was he wrong? On second thought, if the man he'd just met was the professor Ethan was talking about, the chances of him being Quentin Marks were slim. Director Jensen had told him that Quentin Marks was lively and cheerful, a classic mad scientist type. The personality of the man he just met was clearly different from Jensen's description. Shaking his head, Leo dismissed the thought. He was probably overthinking it. A man Jensen had been searching for years. What were the odds that Leo would just bump into him while getting lunch? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. As he thought, Leo's chopsticks drifted over to Ava's Diablo chicken. Hiss, that really was spicy. Professor, did you forget your glasses again today? On the WLU campus, Henry walked beside the professor, a hint of resignation in his voice. How many times have I told you not to think about research while you're walking? I'm I'll be more careful next time, the professor promised, raising a hand. Then his voice filled with excitement. But Henry, I just thought of a great new approach. It could be a major breakthrough for our research. Professor, this is the umpteenth time you've said that to me. Henry adjusted his glasses, a wry smile on his face. I know you're eager to succeed, but you need a rest. The professor shook his head. No, I can't rest. There are people waiting for me. So many people are waiting. I can rest, but they can't. Henry felt a headache coming on. Every time he urged the professor to rest, he would say something cryptic like this. All right, Henry sighed deeply as if surrendering. Shall we go back and try your new approach, Professor? Yes. The professor nodded vigorously, his eyes shining with anticipation. This time it'll work. This time it has to work, he muttered to himself. Henry walked behind him, watching his retreating back with a pang of sympathy. In the entire university, he was probably the only one who knew how much the professor had sacrificed over the years. No one knew what he was researching. The other faculty only knew that he spent nearly 24 hours a day in the lab, only leaving for meals. Even Henry, as his assistant, only had a partial understanding of the research. But no matter what, Henry would do everything in his power to help the professor complete his work. It was the only way he could ever repay him. At that thought, a smile touched Henry's lips. He called out to the professor walking ahead, Professor, slow down, don't fall. He hurried to catch up, staying close in case the older man stumbled. Oh, I'm fine. You worry too much. It's not like I can't see where I'm going, the professor laughed. Then he added, and make sure you remember to wash that young man's jacket and get it back to him. Don't keep him waiting. Yes, yes, don't you worry. Looking at the jacket in his hand, Henry couldn't help but smile wryly. Looks like he'd have to find some time tonight to do laundry. Cheers. As evening approached, after a full day of exploring, Leo and his group gathered once again at a barbecue stand near the university. He had to admit, the barbecue in Westlake City was in a class of its own. You couldn't get enough of it. Hey boss, 5 more pork belly skewers. Leo called out, then pointed at Ethan. He's paying. Ethan's mouth twitched, his eyes dead. Eat up, your majesty. Who could possibly out-eat you? Leo took a swig of beer, his eyes discreetly glancing at Ava's glass. He'd been keeping track of how much she'd had to drink since they started. By now, she had definitely drunk more than she had the previous night. But Leo looked at her. She didn't look the least bit drunk. Her face was a little flushed, but she was a far cry from the unconscious mess she'd been yesterday. He had definitely been tricked last night. At that thought, Leo shot a fierce glare at Kane. So this was your one-sip wonder? It wasn't clear if Ava was knocked out, but Leo had certainly been knocked out. Right in her trap. Kane, I have things to do tomorrow, so I won't be able to join you guys, Ethan said, raising his glass to Kane. Just have fun in Westlake City for the next few days. If you run into any trouble, just give me a call. Don't hesitate. You're too kind, Kane replied quickly. We owe you for these past 2 days. When you come to Ethelberg, look me up, and I'll show you around. Over the past couple of days, Kane had developed a very positive impression of Ethan. Compared to Leo, he was far more polite and well-mannered. With that, they clinked glasses and downed their drinks. Yeah, come to Ethelberg, and my man Kane here will take you to blow up a factory in the middle of the night, Leo added nonchalantly. Cough, cough, cough. Kane, who hadn't even swallowed his beer, sprayed it everywhere. He coughed, pointing at Leo with red-rimmed eyes. You little punk. Lying came as naturally to him as breathing. Blow up. A factory. Ethan thought he'd misheard. Ava's face darkened, and she turned away. Yeah, it's just MMPH. Before Leo could continue, Kane clamped a hand over his mouth. Aha. What Leo meant to say was, fried pickles. Fried pickles. Ethan's mouth twitched. Is that what he said? Kane laughed awkwardly. Yeah, deep-fried pickles. It's a famous local snack. I'll take you to try some when you have the chance. MMPH. Leo glared at Kane. Let go now. If you spread any more rumors about me, I'll kill you. You hear me? Kane leaned in and whispered threateningly before releasing his hand. The moment he was free, Leo ran over to Ava to complain. Wah! Ava, Kane threatened me. Kane? ? However, Ava simply held up a hand to stop him. Stay away from me, she said with disgust. Why? Leo was heartbroken. Kane didn't wash his hands after using the restroom. Leo's mouth fell open. He whipped his head around to look at Kane. Kane looked down, embarrassed. Kane, you son of a bitch. There was no time to deal with Kane. Leo sprinted to the restroom and began frantically scrubbing his face. He was a neat freak. Ethan silently took a sip of his beer. His previously good impression of Kane had shifted slightly. But then again, What kind of person stays mentally stable hanging around Leo? After Leo returned, the four of them chatted for a while longer before getting ready to leave. Hey, Ethan, is there some kind of event happening in Westlake City in a few days? Leo asked suddenly as they were paying. You mean the Festival of Lights? Ethan quickly understood. The festival is next week. It's a huge celebration here. He glanced at Ava in the distance, then leaned in and whispered to Leo with a grin. And according to local custom, if you give your lantern flower to the one you love at the very last moment of the festival, you'll stay together forever. Ethan winked at him. It's a golden opportunity to take your relationship to the next level. Make sure you have a lantern flower ready. TSK, what kind of idiot still believes in these ancient love rituals? Leo scoffed. It's all just a marketing ploy to attract people. Those lantern flowers are probably ridiculously expensive. You blockhead. People make their own lantern flowers, Ethan said, exasperated. So, did you make one for your Lucia? None of your business. Look at you getting all defensive. Get lost. Ethan's fists clenched. He fought the urge to start a brawl with Leo right there. With Ava and Kane present, it wouldn't look good. After they parted ways, Ethan mentally added this to Leo's tab. Sigh, if only I didn't have to hide my family identity. He thought. He really didn't want Leo to know he was the heir to the Sief family. It wasn't that he was afraid it would create a rift between them. He was afraid Leo would use his name to cause trouble everywhere. Leo was definitely the type to do that. Damn it. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He really wanted to take Leo out with a throwing knife. Huh. Ethan felt the hidden pocket in his jacket. A look of panic crossed his face. Where were my knives? Where's my entire personal set of throwing knives? What the hell is this? Back in his room, Leo carefully opened a small black pouch. Inside lay 5 small, jet black knives. Because of what had happened, Ava wasn't going to give Leo another chance anytime soon. So tonight, Leo had obediently returned to his own hotel room. Are these throwing knives? Why would that kid Ethan be carrying these around? Leo's head was full of questions. As they were leaving, Leo had found an opportunity to use his dirty pickpocket skill on Ethan. When he'd first felt the object in his hand, he thought it was a wallet and had been secretly pleased. This was it. Good news. The theft was successful. Bad news. He'd stolen knives. If it had been anyone else, Leo would have already called the cops. That guy Ethan, he isn't some kind of assassin, is he? Leo frowned, staring at the 5 knives. Before coming here, he had already guessed that Ethan might be connected to Westlake City's Sief family, since they shared the same last name. Besides, almost no one he met was normal. BZZ. Leo saw his phone vibrating and grinned. It was Ethan. Hey, what's up, Ethan? Leo, did you happen to see a small black pouch? A small black pouch? Leo glanced at the pouch and the knives in front of him. Don't worry, it's not lost, he said casually. I've got it right here for you. You didn't open it, did you? Ethan's voice was tense. What are you so nervous about? It's just a few throwing knives. It's not like you lost your wallet, Leo said dismissively. On the other end of the line, Ethan's heart sank. It was over. Leo had seen everything. He couldn't figure out how his knives had ended up with Leo. Besides his father, no one knew he practiced with throwing knives. He hadn't even told Lucia. He was waiting for the perfect moment to show them off and look cool. He never imagined that before he could even start showing off, the knives would be gone. And that idiot Leo was comparing his knives to a wallet. Did he have any idea how much it cost to forge that set? He wouldn't know quality if it bit him. Leo, let me explain, Ethan said, taking a deep breath. Explain what? They are the heir to the Sief family. Leo stated it flatly. Holy shit. Ethan was shocked. How did you know that? Leo sighed. Was it that hard to guess? Ethan was silent. After a long moment, he mumbled, You're not going to use this to freeload off me every day, are you? Leo was speechless. So that was it. The reason he was hiding his identity was because he was afraid of that? Was he that kind of person? With one word from his girlfriend, the entire Reed family would let him freeload. Julian Reed had practically begged him to join the family, and he had refused. Now Julian was probably kicking himself with regret, Leo figured. Ethan, how could you say something like that? Leo feigned anger. Am I that kind of person? Leo's response left Ethan at a loss for words. Suddenly, it seemed like Ethan was the one in the wrong, even though Leo was the one who had stolen his stuff. Ethan, you'd better apologize to me right now and call me Big Bro Leo, and then I'll forgive you. You know what? Keep the knives. They're a gift, Ethan said flatly. Make him call Leo Big Bro. He'd rather die. They weren't essential anyway. He could just have another set made. Besides, Ethan was thinking clearly. The knives were useless to Leo. Did he even know how to use them? He'd probably just hurt himself and then come crying to Ethan for medical bills. That would be the best-case scenario. Hey, you beat. Before Leo could say more, Ethan had hung up. Now that he knew where his things were, there was no need to panic. He just considered a loan to Leo for a few days. TSK, so rude. Who just hangs up like that? Leo put down his phone and put Ethan's knives away. He'd find a chance to return them later. He walked to the window and stretched, feeling a little puzzled. It was getting late. Why wasn't the stupid cat back yet? Was he out having too much fun? Leo didn't worry too much about it. It wasn't like the cat could get into any real trouble. It's not like that tabby cat would find some other cats and come looking for revenge, right? Feline society. It couldn't be that ruthless, could it? Tap, tap, tap. Just as he was thinking this, a soft tapping came from the door. Leo raised an eyebrow. He opened the door, but saw no one. Meow. Where are you looking? Looking down, he saw Reggie staring up at him reproachfully, as if scolding him for taking too long to open the door. Well, look who decided to come back, Leo teased. He thought the cat would have gone to Ava's room. But in the next second, Reggie leaped lightly onto Leo's shoulder and started meowing insistently in his ear. What are you? Reggie's words made Leo stop short. His expression instantly turned grim. Are you sure? Meow. I heard it with my own 2 cat ears. Nearby. Meow. Yes. Take me there. Leo grabbed his jacket and key card, closed the door, and followed Reggie downstairs. Not far from Leo's hotel, inside an abandoned building, 7 men dressed in black were gathered on one of the floors. The leader kept checking his watch, as if waiting for something. Boss, when are we making our move? One of them asked. The leader frowned at him. Not yet. We wait until the dead of night. Our chances of success will be higher. Do we really need to be this cautious? The man asked, scratching his head. Our target is just some kid. Mason Thorne hiring us for this is already overkill. The 7 of them were a notorious underground assassination squad in Westlake City, specializing in doing dirty work for the major syndicates. Just yesterday, they had accepted a contract from Mason Thorne to kill someone named Leo Evans. Originally, they thought killing a male university student wouldn't require all 7 of them. But Mason Thorne had offered a very high price and warned them not to be careless. This made their leader sense that something was off. It's never wrong to be careful, the leader said, stroking his chin. Besides, I have a feeling this target, Leo Evans, might be more than he seems. None of you are to let your guard down. Mason Thorne isn't a fool. If he hired all 7 of us at once, it means he takes this target very seriously. All of you, stay sharp. If things go south, I won't be there to bail you out. The others chuckled. Relax, boss. We've been with you for years. We know not to underestimate anyone. Yeah, and after this job, Thorne's money will be enough for us to live comfortably for a while. My blade hasn't tasted blood in a long time. However, what they didn't know was that their target, Leo, had already stealthily entered the building. Reggie had told Leo that on his way back, he had overheard their conversation and knew they were planning to attack Leo. That's why he had rushed back to the hotel to warn him. Otherwise, he would have gone straight to Ava's room to sleep. But why were you hanging out in a dump like this? Leo whispered to Reggie in the darkness. He thought the cat had gone off to make friends. Reggie stopped, fell silent, and in a very human-like gesture, turned his head away, his eyes full of guilt. Human, mind your own business. You came to a place like this to make friends? Leo pressed. Meow. Just drop it. Reggie refused to answer the question directly. Soon, the man and cat arrived on the floor where the 7 assassins were. 1, 2, 3. Hiding in the shadows, Leo counted. Just as the cat had said, 7 people. A dangerous glint appeared in Leo's eyes. He had just arrived in Westlake City, and someone already wanted him dead? What had he, a model student, ever done to deserve being assassinated? He didn't have any enemies here. I didn't start this. They came looking for me, Leo muttered himself. He instinctively reached for his waist, ready to draw his gun and take out all 7 of them in an instant. But his hand met empty air. Meow. What are you doing? Reggie stared at Leo, his expression clearly conveying that he was looking at a complete idiot. Leo felt a surge of embarrassment. He'd forgotten he wasn't armed. Not only him, the 3 of them had come to Westlake City with absolutely no weapons. The original plan was a vacation. Who brings a gun on vacation? Damn it, what now? Leo was at a loss. Without a gun, he felt like he'd forgotten how to play the game. He patted himself down, searching for anything he could use as a weapon. His fingers found a small black pouch. Inside were Ethan Sie's throwing knives. They were definitely weapons, but he didn't know how to use them. He should have just brought some C4. This was a derelict building anyway. He could have just blown the whole place up. What was he supposed to do now? Call Ethan for a crash course? What was the difference between that and a college kid learning the material for the first time during the final exam? Forget it. I'll just call the cops. Let the Westlake City BSO handle this. Decided, Leo pulled out his phone and dialed the number Julian had given him, along with a specific request to call if there was trouble, not set off an explosion. Ring. Hello, Westlake City Bureau of Syndicate Oversight. Leo had to hand it to them. The Westlake City BSO was dedicated. It was the middle of the night, and someone still picked up on the first ring. If this were the Ethelberg BSO, they would have unplugged the phone lines the second they clocked out. After all, nothing major ever happened in Ethelberg anymore. The BSO and the Reed family had an understanding, and everyone was playing by the rules. So, the agents in Ethelberg spent their days playing cards and their nights hitting up barbecue joints. And then there were guys like Leo, who didn't even show up for work, just clocked in remotely. Hello, I'd like to report. Quickly, Leo explained the situation, using a healthy dose of hyperbole to make sure they understood the severity of the problem. You said they have a Gatling gun. Is that correct? That's right. The kind that spits blue flames, da-da-da-da. It's terrifying. And a case of grenades. Correct. I saw it with my own eyes. I think they're an illegal arms cartel. Leo, ever the model student, lied without a blush or a tremor in his voice. Let me confirm one last time. Are you certain your statements are true? Of course. I have no reason to lie to you. Understood. Our team is already on its way and will arrive at the location you provided as soon as possible. You guys are the best. The true heroes of Westlake City. With that, Leo hung up. He glanced at the 7 men in the distance. He was far enough away that they hadn't heard him, mostly because 3 of them were in a loud, heated game of poker that drowned out everything else. Otherwise, he would have had to move even further away to make the call. But since the BSO was on its way, the rest of this had nothing to do with him. Leo stuffed the pouch of knives back into his pocket, gave the cat a look, and prepared to head back. Just then, the 3 men playing poker started talking, their voices just loud enough to carry over to Leo's ears. Haha, I hear that Leo Evans' guy has a pretty hot girlfriend. I saw her when I was doing recon today. Not gonna lie, she's a total smoke show. So, you think maybe tonight we should, pay her a visit? I'm in. I call first dibs, so don't even try to get in my way. Look at you, all worked up, acting like you've never seen a woman before. In that instant, both Leo and Reggie froze. They looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. Reggie, we're gonna take that. Leo, not a chance. Reggie, then get him. Leo, done. Man and cat turned in unison. A glacial coldness settled in Leo's eyes. Throwing knives? They could work. A knife was a knife. Used like a dagger, there was no difference. Leo silently drew one of the blades, gripping it tightly. Activating gale force, he shot toward the 3 men playing poker. The others didn't matter. These 3 had to die here tonight. He appeared so suddenly that the 7 men were caught completely off guard. Who are you? One of the men at the card game looked up, managed to get 3 words out, and then fell silent forever. A deep red line had appeared across his throat. One slice was all it took. He had to admit, Ethan's knives were sharper than any dagger. Before the others could even process what had happened, Leo spun and slashed again. Another one down. Ambush, the leader finally roared, his face a mask of terror. In the blink of an eye, 2 of his men were dead, and they hadn't even gotten a clear look at the attacker's face. Just then, one of the men further away drew his gun without hesitation and pulled the trigger. Leo glanced at the pistol. Before the man even fired, he had already calculated the bullet's approximate trajectory. Bang! The moment the shot rang out, Leo's body shifted slightly, the bullet grazing his shoulder. He pushed off his feet, closing the distance again. Stay back. The last of the poker trio stared in horror. The 2 men he'd been playing cards with just seconds ago were now cold corpses. And the man who'd made them that way was now charging at him, a knife raised, less than an arm's length away. Next life, remember, ace is high. With that cryptic final sentence, Leo's knife swept across the man's throat, stealing his life. The man clutched his neck, his eyes wide, his mind fixated on a single thought. Did I even have an ace in my hand? Bang! Bang! 2 more shots echoed through the space. Leo dodged them by a hair's breadth, quickly moving to take cover behind a concrete pillar. Shit! A muscle in Leo's jaw twitched. Just from those 3 shots, he knew. These guys weren't on the same level as the Foam Alliance's useless hacks. They were at least a tier higher. Westlake City, a major metropolis, even produced better quality elite mobs than Ethelberg. Idiot! Who told you to shoot? The leader snarled at the gunman. You'll bring the BSO down on us. If they get involved, we're all dead. The shooter broke into a cold sweat. He'd forgotten. In the main districts of Westlake City, firing a gun was absolutely forbidden. Any shooting incident would trigger a relentless investigation from the BSO, and they wouldn't stop until someone was in cuffs. Because of this, the syndicate families rarely used firearms unless it was absolutely necessary. And those who did, without exception, were all brought to justice by the Bureau. Who? Hiding behind the pillar, Leo let out a long breath. He frowned, glancing at his left shoulder. The bullet had grazed him. Though he dodged in time, it had still torn the skin, a searing, sharp pain radiating from the wound. For left, Leo thought. The 4 remaining men were now moving cautiously, slowly, surrounding his position. 3. The shots had been fired. Let's end this quick, the leader ordered, pulling out his own handgun and aiming it at the pillar shielding Leo. Since the line had been crossed, they might as well go all the way. Worst case, after they kill their target, they'd flee Westlake City as fast as they could. By then, even if the BSO wanted to track them, it would be infinitely more difficult. Seeing this, the other 2 men also drew their pistols. In an instant, 4 handguns were aimed at Leo from different angles. The second he showed himself, he was dead. Leo recognized the situation, but he wasn't worried. He held his breath, waiting for the right moment. Reggie, it's all on you now, he thought. As if in response, in the next second, as the men's nerves were stretched taut, a cat's meow pierced the silent tension. Meow. Morons. Who's there? Bang. Startled, the men glanced in the direction of the sound. The leader fired without a second thought, but all they saw was a flash of a white tail disappearing around corner. The shot hit nothing, and in that moment, Leo's eyes hardened. Nice one, cat. Seizing the opportunity, Leo burst from behind the pillar, targeting the enemy closest to him. By the time the man turned his head back, Leo was already in his face. In his panic, the man's eyes went wide, his mouth opened, and a single word escaped his lips. Phew! A flash of steel cut him off. Another man fell. Almost simultaneously, Leo's other hand shot out and snatched the pistol from the dead man's grip. This was his real goal. What good was a throwing knife compared to a gun? The moment his fingers closed around the pistol, Leo felt it again. The sensation of being back on the crucible, an unstoppable force of destruction. Damn it, he's Leo Evans. The remaining 3 men finally reacted. In the space of a single distraction, another one of them was dead. And now, they finally got a clear look at Leo's face. He stood there, a pistol in his left hand, a knife in his right, turning to face them with a mocking smirk. The hands of all 3 men trembled as they held their guns. The leader, especially, was cursing Mason Thorne's entire family tree back 18 generations. This is a college student? What kind of college student is this? He swore that if he had known Leo was this terrifying, he never would have taken a job for Mason Thorne. And now look, they'd barely gotten a glimpse of his face, and 4 of their 7-man team were gone. How were they supposed to fight this? Even with a 3-to-1 advantage, they had lost all will to fight. Leo's performance was too monstrous, completely beyond their comprehension. Brother, let's talk. The leader slowly lowered his gun, swallowing hard. There's no deep-seated hatred between us, right? He said, looking at Leo. How about this? You let us go, and we'll give you whatever you want. Money, anything else, it's all on the table. The moment Leo got his hands on a gun, the leader knew it was over. The guy could dominate them with a knife. What chance did they have now that he was armed? Especially after witnessing Leo's freakish speed, the thought of fighting was laughable. The leader's assessment of the situation was crystal clear. If they fought, there was a slim chance they'd win, but a much higher probability they'd be slaughtered instantly. If they didn't fight, they might have a chance to escape. He figured Leo probably didn't know they were here to kill him. Boss you, shut up if you want to live. Though the other 2 were confused, they trusted their leader's judgment. They, too, slowly lowered their weapons, their eyes fixed on Leo with wary apprehension. No deep-seated hatred. Leo echoed the leader's words, his voice sharp with anger. If there's no hatred, then why were you shooting at me? Because you attacked us first, you psycho. The leader screamed internally, but on the outside, he forced a sycophantic smile. That was all a misunderstanding. We can explain everything. Don't bother explaining just yet. First, answer a question for me, Leo said coolly. Who is Mason Thorne, and why does he want me dead? Hiss, the leader drew a sharp, cold breath. It's over. The kid knows everything. Not only did he know they were here to kill him, but he also knew Mason Thorne sent them. Who the hell sold me out? The leader's mind reeled with fury. It had to be a betrayal. His 7 men would never betray him, and only Mason Thorne knew about this operation. The source of the leak was obvious. Mason Thorne. That son of a bitch, Mason Thorne. The leader ground out between his teeth. He knew it now. He'd been played. Mason was trying to get him killed. Brother, don't get agitated. Listen to me. The leader had completely abandoned any thought of fighting Leo. All he wanted now was to kill Mason Thorne. We've both been screwed over by him. He wants us to kill each other. He sent us to kill you. Then he leaked the intel to you. It's his conspiracy. We can't fight anymore. If we do, we'll be playing right into his hands. Although he had no idea what the relationship was between Mason and Leo, the leader was now convinced that Leo was a victim, just like him. Leo just stood there completely baffled. After a long moment, he tilted his head. Huh, is this guy all there? All I did was ask who Mason Thorne was and why he wanted me dead. What kind of fanfiction did he just cook up in his head? You're saying Mason Thorne set both of us up? Leo asked, feigning confusion. Explain. It's like this. Mason Thorne hired us to kill you, but he obviously concealed your real capabilities. He told us you were just a college student. I am a college student, Leo thought. Now it's clear. That bastard Mason must have known we have incriminating evidence against the Thorne family. So he's using you to get rid of us. The Thorne family? So Mason is one of the Thornes? Leo was confused. He didn't know anyone from the Thorne family and had never provoked them. Why do they want him dead? Brother, how about this? Let's call today's incident a misunderstanding. We'll just wipe the slate clean, the leader said, then took a deep breath. Our common enemy should be Mason Thorne. He's the real villain here. If you're not willing to do it yourself, brother, the leader said, thumping his chest, I will. I'll take care of that bastard Mason Thorne for both of us. I'll cut him into 1,000 pieces. How does that sound? Leo stood frozen, utterly failing to comprehend why the man opposite him had suddenly switched sides. How had they become comrades in arms? Though he didn't understand what had just happened. Then, I'll leave it to you, Leo said tentatively. Don't you worry, brother, the leader affirmed with a heavy nod. Leave everything to me. Then, under Leo's watchful gaze, to prove his sincerity, he had his 2 remaining men toss their guns over to Leo's side along with his own. Brother, then, we'll be going, the leader asked cautiously. Yeah, go on, Leo said, waving a dismissive hand. The timing should be about right, he thought. Hearing this, the 3 men breathed a collective sigh of relief and turned to leave without a moment's hesitation. The leader, in particular, felt his sycophantic smile twist into a dark scowl the second his back was turned. Go after Mason Thorne? As if that was the Thorne family, an apex family. The 3 of them trying to kill Mason Thorne would be a suicide mission. It was all just a ploy to save his own skin. Besides, after tonight, the BSO would be all over them. All he wanted now was to get out of Westlake City as fast as possible. As for the 4 dead men, he didn't care, even if they had been with him for years. That was reality. They were already dead. Was he supposed to risk his own life for their revenge? Don't be ridiculous. He wanted to live. Staying alive was all that mattered. Just as he was plotting his escape route, a series of footsteps echoed from downstairs. The 3 men froze. Who was coming at this hour? Was this abandoned building really that popular? All right, I forgot to tell you. Leo's voice sounded from behind them. I called the BSO about half an hour ago. But please believe me, I had no idea they'd be here so fast. Leo spread his hands, a picture of innocence. He really hadn't known the Westlake City BSO was this efficient. It felt like no time at all, and they were already on the scene. If this were the Ethelberg BSO, they probably wouldn't have even left the station yet. Hearing this, the 3 men whipped around, their faces masks of pure shock. You son of a bitch. You don't play fair, do you? You actually called the cops. BSO. Nobody move. Hands on your head and get on the ground. In an instant, dozens of BSO agents swarmed the area surrounding them. The 3 men practically wet themselves. Good God, did the entire bureau show up? There were only 7 of us. Did we really warrant a full-scale deployment? They had no idea that Leo's phone call had mentioned a Gatling gun and a case of grenades, which had sent the BSO into a full-blown panic. They had scrambled an emergency response team and raced to the scene. And now, where's the Gatling gun? The grenades? The arms cartel? The BSO agents scanned the area. Other than 4 corpses, they saw nothing. Had they arrived too late? What the hell happened here? One agent demanded, looming over the 3 men kneeling on the ground. Who killed those 4? And who fired the shots? The leader, trembling, was about to point the finger at Leo. It was Wah. A sudden sob startled everyone. They finally noticed another person cowering in the corner. You're finally here. Leo ran out, covering his face, his voice thick with tears. He pointed a shaking finger at the 3 men. They're so scary. They were killing people here and shooting. They threatened me. They told me not to say anything and were going to frame me for the murders. Wah, I'm just an ordinary college student visiting your city for the first time, and this happens. Westlake City is so dangerous. The reason he was covering his face was simple. He couldn't squeeze out any actual tears. The BSO agents listened, a collective twitch forming at the corners of their mouths. They looked at the bloodstains on Leo's clothes, all of them frowning. Student, please calm down. Wah, how can I calm down? My fragile young heart has been severely traumatized. Traumatized my ass. The three men on the ground couldn't take it anymore. This was too much, too absurd. A complete frame job. He was the one who killed everyone, and now he was playing the victim. Leo Evans. Just then, a woman's voice called out, "Take your hands down. You're Leo Evans, right?" Leo, in the middle of his dramatic performance, froze. He knew that voice. She knew him. He slowly lowered his hands and saw the person in front of him. His jaw dropped. Lucia Shang? Leo, it is you. What the hell are you doing here? Leo dropped the act completely, staring at Lucia in shock. Seeing her dressed in BSO tactical gear, he felt his brain short-circuit. You're with the BSO? Lucia just stared back at him, nodding numbly. 1,000 questions were swirling in her mind, and she had no idea which one to ask first. Director Shang, you know him? One of the agents asked. Huh? Oh yes. Lucia snapped back to reality. You could say, we're acquainted. Then how should we handle him? You guys interrogate these three first. Lucia paused, then pointed at Leo. I need to speak with him privately. Without waiting for a response, she grabbed Leo's arm and dragged him to a corner where no one could overhear them. Why are you here? Lucia's expression was deadly serious. She didn't just know Leo. He was Ethan Sie's best friend. She had to get to the bottom of this. Shouldn't I be asking you that, Director Shang? Leo looked at her curiously. Does Ethan know about this? He knows. Right now, we need to talk about you. Lucia glanced over her shoulder, then lowered her voice. What really happened here? It's just like I said. You think they can't tell you we're acting? Lucia said, exasperated. You didn't shed a single tear, and you don't look scared at all. Who's going to believe you? And all that blood on you, it's obviously not yours. Leo let out a soft TSK. His acting skills needed work. He'd have to ask the system if it had any performance-related skills. If so, he could grab one, become an intern after graduation, train for a couple of years, and become a movie star. It was always good to have career options. With no other choice, Leo told Lucia the whole story. After all, she was Ethan's girlfriend. He felt he could trust her. It definitely wasn't because he was outnumbered by BSO agents and feeling a little intimidated. Absolutely not. After he finished, Lucia looked at him with suspicion. You're telling me Ethan knows how to use throwing knives? That's your takeaway from all this. Leo was speechless. Then, a teasing glint appeared in his eyes. Don't tell me. You're his girlfriend, and he's been keeping secrets like this from you? Even I knew about it, and he didn't tell you? He must not trust you very much. Unlike me, I tell my Ava everything. No reservations. Lucia's face darkened, her fists clenching. Now she understood why Ethan was always so eager to punch Leo. Leo, I'm sorry, but you have to come back to the bureau with me for questioning, Lucia said with a sigh, looking at him apologetically. Why? I just told you the truth. Leo said, surprised. And you think any of that is believable? Lucia said, exasperated. You one man against 7, killed 4 of them with a single throwing knife, while they were all armed with guns. Do you think I'm an idiot? Then I'm easy to fool. Leo opened his mouth, but found himself at a loss for words. Come on, you know my relationship with Ethan. You still don't trust me. I've always kept my personal and professional lives separate. What if it were Ethan in my place? Same thing. He'd be brought in for questioning. Leo gave Lucia a thumbs up. Nice. The Westlake City BSO was really something else. A true beacon of justice. Fine. If that's how it is, I guess I have no choice, Leo sighed, reaching into his pants pocket. What are you doing? Lucia immediately tensed. In her eyes, Leo was now a suspect. Leo slowly pulled out his phone, swiped across the screen, and handed it to her. Here, see for yourself. What is this? Lucia took the phone, her eyes widening as she saw the image on the screen. She pinched to zoom in on the name. It was an official appointment document from the Ethelbert BSO. At the top, a few words were clearly written. Head of BSO Special Operations Task Force, Leo Evans. Next to it was Leo's ID photo. But that wasn't what shocked her most. What made her gasp was the seal at the bottom of the document. Is this the seal of the BSO National Headquarters? Lucia recognized the red stamp at the bottom, her voice a hushed whisper. She looked up at Leo, her eyes filled with a new kind of curiosity. The seal of the national headquarters was no small thing. That seal meant that Leo's position and authority as head of the Special Operations Task Force superseded that of a Grade 1 director at any regional bureau. In other words, with his current status, unless the director of the Westlake City BSO came in person, no one here had the authority to arrest him. Who are you really? Lucia stammered. How the hell should I know? Leo thought. When Director Jensen sent him the file, he never mentioned the seal. He thought it was just some minor leadership role. Now, seeing Lucia's reaction, maybe this position was a bigger deal than he'd thought. Don't ask too many questions, Leo said, putting on a profound air despite his own confusion. Knowing too much isn't good for you. To Lucia, however, his words had a completely different meaning. Could it be, you're on some kind of special assignment? She guessed. You could say that. Then I understand. Lucia handed the phone back to Leo. If you need any help, just ask. I'll have the Westlake City BSO cooperate with you in any way we can. Right, good. You guys are working hard too, Leo said, taking the phone, suddenly unsure what to say. He felt like Lucia had probably misunderstood something. But what did that have to do with him? He was just an ordinary college student who happened to stumble upon a murder scene. Now that he was cleared of suspicion, Lucia had no reason to doubt him further. They walked out of the corner together. Lucia suddenly remembered something and whispered to Leo, "By the way, my relationship with Ethan, don't you dare tell anyone." Why? Are you two having a secret affair or something? No, Lucia explained. Because of our positions. The BSO can't have any ties to the major family, so she was a Grade 1 director for the BSO, and Ethan was the young master of the CF family. If their relationship were exposed, they would both face unprecedented backlash from their respective factions. The BSO already had a contentious relationship with the Sia and Thorne families, having arrested members of both in the past. In recent years, under Ethan's persistent efforts, the CF family had been keeping a much lower profile. But for the two of them to be together, there were still many obstacles to overcome. TSK, you two don't have it easy, do you? Leo remarked. Putting himself in their shoes, he wondered, if he were in the BSO, could he and Ava be together? Probably. Director Jensen was already cooperating with the Reed family, after all. Thinking of this, Leo asked, your director, what's his relationship with the Sia family like? At this, Lucia sighed in frustration. Our director and the Sia and Thorne families are practically at war with each other. Leo shook his head, a quiet sense of appreciation for his own situation washing over him. Director Jensen was a good boss. At least in his bureau, you could slack off and play cards. Not like the agents here in Westlake City. Leo glanced at the group of agents in the distance. It was the middle of the night, and because of one phone call, they were still diligently searching for a non-existent Gatling gun. This was the importance of good leadership. As for the three captured thugs, they knelt on the ground in despair, as quiet as terrified chicks. Seeing that Lucia and Leo were done talking, a BSO agent approached. Director Shang, this guy, he began, glancing at Leo, unsure if he should continue. Based on their initial interrogation of the three suspects, the four bodies at the scene were all killed by the young man in front of them. But the story the three gave was so unbelievable, he had a hard time accepting it. Oh, it's fine, Lucia said, pointing at Leo. This is the head of the Special Ops Task Force from National Headquarters. He's one of us. In National Headquarters? The agent's eyes went wide. Ahem. It's nothing. I'm just here on vacation. Just pretend you never saw me, Leo said with a dismissive wave and a smile. All right, we understand, the agent replied, his expression saying, I get it. We'll take these three back, then. As for you, Lucia looked at Leo. Are you coming with us? Or do you have other plans? Well, Leo rubbed his hands together. This is a little embarrassing to ask, but I was hoping to borrow something from you. What is it? Do you happen to have any C4 at the bureau? Leo asked, scratching his head sheepishly. Westlake City, the CF family estate. Tonight, Ethan Sia had made a rare trip home. He usually lived off-site, seldom returning. But this time, he had come back for a matter of lifelong importance. Click. Ethan unlocked the front door and stepped into the living room. Before he could speak, a man sitting on the sofa spoke first. Well, look what the cat dragged in. The great young master Sia knows the way home after all. Mister. Sia had his back to Ethan, holding a file in one hand and a pen in the other, clearly still working. Dad, I was only gone for a few days, Ethan said, exasperated. Just because he delegated his responsibilities for a couple of days didn't warrant this much resentment, did it? Mister. Sia chuckled softly. Is Leo here? Yeah, for the national calculus competition. That little rascal comes all the way to Westlake City and doesn't even bother to visit me. Mister. Sia grumbled with a smile. It was obvious he and Leo were on good terms. Ethan shook his head helplessly. His father and Leo had met a few times years ago, and to Ethan's bewilderment, they had hit it off immediately. Mister. Sia had taken notice of Leo after the narcotics incident and greatly approved of his actions, even telling Ethan to learn a thing or two from him. Leo, for his part, liked Mr. Sia because the older man was generous and had treated him to several excellent meals. As a result, Leo would call him Uncle Sia, with a charm that could win anyone over. Don't even mention it. That kid used some trick to steal my throwing knives. You're throwing knives? Mister. Sia put down his file and looked at Ethan with a smirk. You mean the ones you used to practice in secret as a kid, and when you got caught, you were so embarrassed you threw a tantrum and rolled around on the floor? Dad, you don't have to bring up that particular dark chapter of my history, Ethan said, mortified. He cleared his throat. Let's talk about something serious. Dad, I came today to discuss Lucia. What? Did you two break up? No. Then what is there to discuss? Mister. Sia said, annoyed. The two of you are dating, and I'm the one suffering. Not only do I have to cover for you with the family, but I also have to put up with the BSO director yelling at me. That reminds me. Mister. Sia's voice suddenly rose with agitation. Do you have any idea how many times that bastard director Shang has called to chew me out since you started dating? You could have dated anyone, but you had to go for the BSO director's daughter? You. My blood pressure. Mister. Sia pointed at Ethan, working himself up so much he could feel his hypertension flaring. Ethan just stood there like a scolded child, head bowed, not daring to make a sound. Since he and Lucia had started dating, he'd gotten used to these tirades from his father. What could he do? It's not like he could control his feelings. After Mr. Sia calmed down, Ethan finally spoke, his voice tentative. Dad, I think our family's relationship with the BSO isn't about time. His meaning was clear. He wanted to go public with his relationship with Lucia. He had been working hard to make it possible for them to be together openly, and he had to admit his efforts had paid off. The relationship between the CF family and the BSO had indeed thawed considerably. At the very least, they now coexisted peacefully. He was also gradually taking on more of the family's business. After all, he was the sole heir, and one day Mr. Sia would have to hand the reins over to him. Oomph. Mr. Sia snorted dismissively. Our relationship with the BSO may have improved, but what about the Thorne family? We've been allied with them for years. Now we're suddenly going to join hands with the BSO? What do you think Mason Thorne will say? And what about that girl, Melina? Won't that poor girl be heartbroken? When Mr. Sia mentioned Melina, Ethan quickly interjected, Dad, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want. My feelings for Melina are strictly that of an older brother for a younger sister. Mr. Sia scoffed. Give me a break. You might feel that way, but that girl Melina certainly doesn't. Her feelings are obvious to anyone with eyes. You're the only idiot who doesn't take it seriously. Ethan fell silent. He had a vague idea that Melina liked him. That was why, after realizing it, he had tried his best to keep his distance and limit their contact. But some things were never spoken aloud. In any case, until you've sorted things out with the Thorne family, don't come to me talking about going public, Mr. Sia said, waving a hand, dismissing Ethan. When you've managed to untangle all these complicated relationships, then you can come find me. At that point, when I go negotiate with that bastard director Shang, I'll at least have some leverage. Ethan sighed softly. Another failure. He felt a deep sense of frustration. He had a plan for the CF family and the BSO, but the Thorne family. The mere thought of Melina gave him a headache. If I had known, I should have kept my mouth shut when we were kids. Ethan muttered to himself. If it weren't for a few careless, childish words he'd said to Melina back then, things wouldn't be like this now. Forget it. I'll ask Leo for advice another day. He's full of clever ideas. Maybe he'll have a solution. Ethan shook his head, pushing the troublesome thoughts away. He went back to his room, threw himself onto his bed, and collapsed. At this point, sleep was his only escape. In dreams, anything was possible. Meanwhile, back at the derelict building in Westlake City. Why do you need C for? Lucia's eye twitched. She couldn't understand why Leo would suddenly ask her for explosives. What else would you use C for? Leo scratched his head, looking puzzled. Demolitions, of course. Up in the main city district. Lucia asked cautiously. Is the Thorne family estate in the main district? Yes. Then yes, in the main district. No. Lucia refused instantly, her voice rising. Firearms are prohibited in the main districts of Westlake City, let alone explosives. It's that strict? Of course. It's the rule. Isn't it the same in Ethelberg? Leo thought back to the phone Alliance's factory. But that was in the suburbs, not the city center. But it probably would have been fine in the city, too, Leo figured. Lucia's eyes widened in disbelief. She couldn't fathom why Leo would even entertain the idea of setting off explosives in a major city. Was the BSO in Ethelberg really that lax? And not only did he want to set off a bomb, he wanted to bomb the Thorne family. To Lucia, there's only one word to describe her current state of mind. Absurd. Fine. If you won't give me any, you won't, Leo said perfunctorily. For Ethan's sake, he'd give Lucia some face and not just take it by force. It's not just that I won't give you any. More importantly, you absolutely cannot cause trouble, Lucia said with a stern expression, warning him. No matter what mission you're on, you cannot cross the Westlake City BSO's bottom line. Understand? Leo nodded gravely, his face serious. Understand. Don't worry, I'll be on my best behavior. Hearing this, Lucia relaxed slightly. At least Leo was reasonable enough to listen. Can I go now? Leo asked a little sheepishly. Ava's waiting for me to get back, so we can sleep. That girl can't even fall asleep now unless I'm holding her. Then you should go back, Lucia stammered, a muscle twitching in her jaw. She didn't know what to say. Her impression of Leo had been completely rewritten tonight. Oh, right. Tell your guys to stop looking for the Gatling gun. There isn't one. I made it all up, Leo added as he was leaving. This statement left the BSO agents, who were scouring every inch of the building, frozen in place. Made it up. So they had been searching for all this time, for nothing? Some of them had even been sniffing the ground, trying to detect the scent of gunpowder, terrified of missing a single grenade. And it was all a lie. A group of them walked over to Lucia, watching Leo's retreating back. One of them muttered, Director Sean, can I punch it? I wanted to. Count me in. Damn it, I was on my hands and knees sniffing the floor for half an hour. Lucia felt a migraine coming on. She quickly held them back, trying to calm them down. Easy. He for national headquarters. Let's just be patient with him. Then, she turned and yelled, Pack it up. Take these 3 back for an all-night interrogation. Yes, ma'am. The BSO team began to pack up and head back. Many of them were grumbling to themselves. A team of dozens had deployed with great fanfare, and all they came back with were 3 prisoners. It was the strangest, most absurd call they'd ever been on. The moment Leo left the abandoned building, Reggie shot out from a dark corner. Meow. I was pretty great, wasn't I? Reggie strutted proudly, looking up at Leo with a smug expression. If it hadn't been for that meow, Leo would have been in real trouble. You did good. Go get some tuna treats from Ava when we get back. Leo gently tapped Reggie's head, then glanced back to make sure the BSO was gone. He pulled out his phone and, ignoring the time, called Kane. Ring. After a long while, the call connected. Kane's voice, thick with resentment, came through. Leo, are you insane? Do you have any idea what time it is? Why are you calling me? Wake up, Kane. It's an emergency. Someone tried to assassinate me. What? Kane was instantly awake, his voice laced with concern. What's their condition? You didn't kill them, did you? Isn't the normal reaction to ask if I'm okay first? Leo's jaw twitched. Why was this kid more concerned about the enemy? The enemy is dealt with. Now there are 2 things I need you to do. What is it? Kane had a very bad feeling about this. Then, he heard Leo's calm voice from the other end. First, from now on, you're in charge of Ava's safety. If anything happens, you tell me immediately. That's fine. What's the second thing? Second, call Julian for me. Tell him to send some C4 over. You son of a bitch. Kane knew it. Nothing good ever came out of Leo's mouth. His first request was for explosives. Are you crazy? This is Westlake City, not Ethelberg. Kane said sternly. If you set off a bomb here, the BSO will hunt you down. They can't track me if they don't know it was me, Leo replied matter-of-factly. What does an explosion caused by the Burrito King have to do with Leo Evans? Didn't you give Julian your word you wouldn't cause trouble in Westlake City? Is this the first day you've known me? Since when do I have any integrity? Before Kane could respond, Leo cut him off. Long story short, you get the C4, I'll take care of the enemy. I'm going to find a Thorne family's address and scout the demolition site tonight. Kane's words caught in his throat. The Thorne family? Demolition site? You're going to bomb the Thorne family? Duh. They tried to assassinate me. Who else am I going to bomb? Ethan's family? Ethan's family? What do you mean? Ethan is the young master of the CF family. You didn't know? How the hell would I know that? Kane roared. This one phone call from Leo contained way too much information. His brain was completely overloaded. How had things gone this sideways after only 2 days in Westlake City? Anyway, just do as I say for now. I'll contact you later. Beep. Leo hung up. In the dark room, Kane sat alone on his bed, listening to the dial tone, feeling utterly helpless. For some reason, he felt like crying. I just wanted to go on vacation, he muttered. But there was no time for self-pity. That lunatic Leo was already on his way to the Thorn estate. Kane stared blankly at his phone, completely torn. Should he call Julian? After a fierce internal struggle, Kane dialed Julian's number. Kane, are you sick? Do you know what time it is? Julian, we have a problem, Kane said, his voice miserable. That lunatic Leo wants you to send some C4. Julian. Was he dreaming, or was Kane? You guys have only been in Westlake City for 2 days. What the hell happened now? I don't know. Leo just called me out of the blue. Kane quickly relayed everything Leo had said. Miles away in Ethelberg, Julian pinched the bridge of his nose, feeling a profound exhaustion settle over him. Didn't he give me his word? He says he has no integrity. Julian was speechless. Fine. He wins. I'll have someone arrange for the explosives. After you get them, don't call me. I have nothing to do with you two bastards. Whatever you do in Westlake City, I know nothing about it. Got it. Without waiting for a reply, Julian hung up. Sigh. With a long, drawn-out sigh, Julian buried his face in his hands. What is my life? If he had known this would happen, he would have chained Leo to a post in Ethelberg. And now look, a vacation. 2 days into the trip, and he's already asking for explosives. The Reed family's entire stockpile wasn't enough for Leo's personal use. All Julian could do now was pray that Leo didn't stir up any more trouble. He really couldn't handle it. Late at night, on a street leading to the Thorn family estate, a man and a cat ambled along without a care in the world. Meow. So sleepy. Reggie trailed behind Leo, radiating resentment. Why do I have to come too? He was just a cat. At this hour, he should be sleeping, not wandering the streets with Leo. Hang in there, you silly cat. Look at me. I'm not sleeping either, Leo muttered as he walked. You cats have it too easy. You can't even handle one late night. Do you know how hard we humans have it, grinding away in a burnout culture? Some companies are inhuman, making employees work around the clock, treating them like cattle. Your first day is your last day. Compared to that, this little bit of sleepiness is a luxury, you silly cat. Reggie's ears drooped. If he didn't have to walk, he would have covered them with both paws. He was already annoyed, and now he had to listen to Leo's lecture. TSK. We're here. Leo stopped, looking at a compound not far ahead. According to the files Director Jensen had given him before he left, this was the Thorn family estate. Leo was here mainly to scout the place and look for clues as to why Mason Thorn wanted him dead. Silly cat, you be my lookout. Let me know immediately if you see anything, got it? Did you hear me? Silly cat. Hearing no reply, Leo turned his head. At some point, Reggie had already curled up on a nearby park bench and fallen fast asleep. TSK. Leo was exasperated. The cat was clearly exhausted. Asking him to be a lookout was impossible. Forget it. I'll have to rely on myself. Leo pulled a black disposable mask from his pocket and put on. He'd bought it at a 24-hour convenience store a few minutes ago. It was cheap, but as long as it covered his face, it would do. Time for the Burrito King to clock in. Leo activated Gale Force, scaling the high-perimeter wall and dropping into the Thorn family's courtyard. He landed without a sound, his eyes scanning his surroundings. It was completely silent. No one had noticed him. TSK, why do I feel like a thief? A corner of Leo's mouth twitched. He looked toward the large villa at the center of the compound. Through a few of the windows, he could see lights on. Someone in the Thorn family was still awake. But Leo had no intention of rushing straight into their house. He was here for reconnaissance. His priority was to survey the surrounding buildings and terrain. He had to admit, he was already developing a good bit of experience with demolitions. A natural-born demolitions expert. And who knew, with a little luck, he might even find where the Thorns kept their explosives. That would make things much easier. What Leo didn't know was that the Thorn family didn't have any explosives. The BSO's control was too strict. If they were caught with illegal explosives, no matter how many excuses they made, the Thorn family would face the most severe punishment from the Bureau. That was why both the Sia and Thorn families were extremely sensitive about such things. They rarely even used firearms. Otherwise, Ethan Sia wouldn't have had to practice with throwing knives. While Leo was scouting the grounds, inside the Thorn family villa, Mason Thorn sat in his study, a troubled look on his face. He held his phone, his eyes betraying a hint of worry. Still no news. He hadn't gone to bed yet because he was waiting waiting for news of a successful assassination. Based on the timing, they should have made their move by now. But why hasn't there been a single message? Complete radio silence. Did something go wrong? Mason tapped his fingers on the desk. The more he thought, the more he believed the 7 men had failed. Failure itself wasn't the problem, but how they failed mattered. Were they killed? Or were they captured? If they were killed, that was fine. But if they were captured, please, don't let them have been caught by the BSO. What Mason feared most was the Bureau's intervention. If those 7 were captured, they would undoubtedly rat him out. It was inevitable. While Mason had been careful to cover his tracks, there was always a chance. The BSO agents were like dogs. Once they caught a scent, they never let go. If that happened, he would be in deep trouble. As he was thinking, a knock came at the door. Knock, 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 who is it? Mason looked up, simultaneously sliding open a drawer and placing his phone inside. Dad, it's me. Hearing his daughter's voice, he relaxed. Come in. Melina Thorne pushed the door open and walked in, her face pale and drawn. Seeing her, Mason's voice softened. What is it? Why are you still up so late? Dad, can you give me my phone back? Since that day, Melina had been confined to the estate, forbidden to leave. Even her phone had been confiscated by Mason, cutting her off from the outside world. I promise I won't tell Ethan about it. Please, Melina asked timidly. Mason looked at his daughter without speaking. After a long moment, he sighed. Whether you'll tell him or not, you know the truth in your heart. I can give you the phone, but I want you to understand one thing. Mason opened another drawer, took out Melina's phone, and placed it on the desk. He stared intently into her eyes. Once the CF family gets this information, there will only be one outcome. We will go to war with them immediately. This is a family conflict, not playing house. Mason stood up and walked over to Melina, his voice low and heavy. This is irreversible. We and the CF family cannot coexist. You don't have a choice. And I don't have a choice either. Our hands are tied. Melina's body trembled. She bit her lip hard, trying to control her emotions. Her father's words had shattered her last sliver of hope. During her confinement, she had done a lot of thinking. She believed there was still room for reconciliation. She thought that she and Ethan could go back to the way they were. But now, her father was telling her that it was all just a fantasy. Reality was cold and cruel. In the face of a massive family syndicate, her youthful infatuation and naive ideas meant nothing. No one cared. Mason reached out and gently hugged Melina, patting her back. I know this might be cruel for you, he said softly, but you have to learn to accept it, because you are my daughter. At that moment, Melina's emotions finally broke. Tears streamed from her eyes. The young woman rested her head on her father's shoulder and closed her eyes. I understand, Dad. I will forget the CF family. Melina's heart felt as if it were being sliced by a knife. Her voice was flat, devoid of joy or sorrow. Seriously, this place is huge, Leo muttered under his breath. In the dark of night, wearing his mask, Leo had done a full circuit of the Thorne estate. He'd even snapped a few pictures of what he considered prime demolition points. He hadn't encountered a single person. Not that the Thorne security was lax. This was their family estate. Who in their right mind would sneak in here in the middle of the night to cause trouble? To his disappointment, he hadn't found any explosives. TSK. I should have woken up the cat and brought him in. His nose is sharp, Leo sighed. It was a tactical error on his part. Since he couldn't find any C4, his only option was to check inside the house. Leo was now genuinely curious why Mason Thorne wanted him dead. The head of an Apex family, a man he'd never even met. And just 2 days after arriving in Westlake City, he was already sending assassins. Leo just didn't get it. If he didn't get to the bottom of it tonight, he wouldn't be able to sleep. The doors are locked, so the window it is. Leo looked up and saw an open window on the top floor of the villa, a light still on in the room. It was too high for a normal person to climb. But Leo had a cheat code. With a short sprint and a couple of powerful kicks off the wall, he scaled the building in seconds, arriving at the window ledge. He peeked his head in. The room was empty. With a surge of strength, he vaulted over the sill and into the room. The moment he landed, his nose was assaulted. Whoa, that's a lot of perfume. This was clearly a girl's room. Frowning, Leo pulled his mask up tighter. With his enhanced physiology, his sense of smell was far more sensitive than a normal person's. The thick cloud of perfume was a critical hit. Good thing my Ava doesn't wear perfume, Leo thought. Ava's natural scent was much nicer, a faint, milky sweetness that wasn't overpowering. Still, breaking into a girl's bedroom wasn't exactly proper. Adhering to the noble traditions of a gentleman, Leo decided against snooping and planned to leave the room immediately. He crouched slightly, switching to stealth mode, and was about to crack the door open to check the hallway. But as he did, his gaze inadvertently swept across a desk and landed on a framed photograph. Leo swore he was only glancing. His attention was instantly captured. The photo showed just two people, a boy and a girl. The girl had her arm linked with the boy's, a sweet smile on her face. It looked very close. But that wasn't the point. The point was, isn't that fucking Ethan? Leo's eyes widened. He thought he was mistaken, so he leaned in for a closer look. The young man in the photo was, without a doubt, Ethan Sia. He looked a bit younger, a bit less refined. The photo was clearly taken a long time ago. That little. Leo stared at the photo, a single thought dominating his mind. Does Lucia know about this? If she didn't. Hey. A grin spread uncontrollably across Leo's face. He completely forgot about his mission. He whipped out his phone and snapped 3 quick pictures of the photograph. Admiring his handiwork, he smiled with satisfaction. With these 3 photos, Ethan Sia would be calling him Big Bro Leo for the rest of his life. He had to admit, these pictures were the best thing he'd found at the Thorn estate so far. Creak. Just then, the door swung open, making Leo jump. Melina Thorn, her eyes red-rimmed, walked back into her room, clutching her phone, looking lost. Her head was down, so she didn't see Leo as she entered. After closing the door, she looked up and saw the half-masked stranger. She froze. 2.5 seconds later, it registered. A stranger had broken into her room. Aya, she opened her mouth to scream, but Leo, with lightning-fast reflexes, lunged forward and clamped a hand over her mouth the instant she started to make a sound. MMPH. Melina's eyes were wide with fear. She didn't know who this masked man was or what he wanted. She only knew she had to save herself. She struggled wildly, her right hand stealthily trying to dial for help on her phone. Seeing her struggle so fiercely, Leo couldn't think of a better solution. He whispered, "Stop struggling. I'm a friend of Ethan C.S. I'm not going to hurt you." It was the truth. He still wasn't sure what her relationship with Ethan was, so even if she was a thorn, he wouldn't harm her. Hearing his words, Melina's struggles ceased. A friend of Ethan's? She looked at Leo with suspicion, clearly not believing him. Leo looked back at her. "I'm going to let go of your mouth, so I can explain. But you can't scream." "Got it." Melina nodded. Leo released his hand. LMMPH. She hadn't even gotten half the word out before Leo's hand was back over her mouth. Is there no trust left in the world? Leo was exasperated. He'd just let her go, and she'd already betrayed him. She was just as shameless as Ethan. With no other choice, Leo used his other hand to pull down his mask, revealing his face. "Here, look closely," Leo said, pointing to his own face. Then he pulled out his phone, found one of the few photos he had with Ethan, and shoved it in her face. "Look carefully. See? I wasn't lying." Melina's eyes darted between the photo and Leo's face. "No screaming this time." "Got it," Leo said. Seeing her nod, he released her again. Melina let out a long breath. Though she didn't scream, her eyes were still wary. "Who are you? Why haven't I ever heard Ethan mention you?" "Funny, I've never heard him mention you either," Leo said, shrugging as he sized her up. "Ethan, bro. TSK. That kid plays a complicated game. So, who are you? And what's your relationship with Ethan?" Melina asked, her eyes dimming slightly when she heard Ethan hadn't mentioned her. "I'm Ethan's childhood friend. My name is Melina Thorn." "Why do you sound so unsure of yourself when you say that?" Leo quipped. However, Melina's words did jog his memory. He seemed to recall Ethan mentioning a childhood friend once. Just then, the system's notification sound pinged in his mind. "Ping. Congratulations, host, for triggering a mission. Mission content. Save Melina Thorn. Successful completion of the mission will grant a random skill reward." Leo frowned. What kind of mission was this? Save Melina Thorn? How was he supposed to do that? What qualified as saving her? "Hey, system, can you be a little more specific?" The system didn't respond. Leo looked at Melina, standing in front of him, and sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose in frustration. How did things keep getting more and more complicated? "So who are you really?" Melina asked, staring at Leo. "And why are you here?" "Me?" Leo thought for a moment. "I went to high school with Ethan. My name is Leo Evans." "You're Leo Evans?" Melina gasped. She remembered hearing that name when she was eavesdropping on her father's conversation in the study. She looked Leo up and down, a sense of confusion growing within her. This was the Leo Evans who had made her father and that mysterious man so cautious? He just looked like an ordinary college student. Nothing special about him. And what she hadn't expected at all was that he was friends with Ethan. Leo heard her exclamation and saw her reaction. His eyes narrowed slightly. This is getting interesting. You know me? Leo asked. Or rather, you've heard my name? It was a question, but his tone was completely certain. Melina had definitely heard his name before, and it had left a deep impression. Leo didn't beat around the bush. You know Mason Thorne wants to kill me, don't you? Melina fell silent. She didn't know how to answer. It was true. Her father and that mysterious man wanted to kill Leo. But Leo was Ethan's friend. And honestly, she didn't want Ethan's friend to be harmed by her father. She was trapped. But her hesitation was an answer in itself. At the very least, Leo could now confirm that Melina was aware of the plot to kill him. Why? Leo frowned, confused. I have no connection to your family. Why do you want me dead? It's not us who want to kill you, it's... Melina started to say instinctively. She wanted to tell him it was the Vance Dominion, that mysterious man. But her father's warning echoed in her mind, and she swallowed the words. It's what? Leo's eyes flashed. If not you, then who else? I don't know. Melina's gaze hardened. Stop asking. I'm not going to say anything. Fine. It doesn't matter if you talk or not, Leo said with a light chuckle, shrugging nonchalantly. Because after tonight, the Thorne family will cease to exist. What does that mean? Melina said in alarm. What are you planning to do? Hey. Take a guess. What do you think I was doing before I came into your room? Leo's smile was downright sinister. Before Melina could speak, he continued. Right now, I've placed explosives all around your estate. If I feel like it, boom. The Thorne family will be swallowed by a sea of fire. So, whether you talk or not doesn't really matter. Because if you want to kill me, you have to pay the price. At his words, Melina began to tremble, staring at Leo in fear. No, you wouldn't do that. This is Westlake City. If you do that, the BSO will hunt you down. That's a problem for later. Your family will be dead long before I am, Leo said dismissively. Aren't you Ethan's friend? That doesn't conflict with me blowing up your house. You? Melina was speechless. She was panicking now, starting to believe him. She really thought Leo had planted bombs around the estate. After a brief, intense war in her mind, Melina made a decision. I'll tell you, she said timidly. Just don't set them off, okay? Oof. Now you want to talk, but I don't feel like listening, Leo said, waving his hand commandingly. I don't care who wants to kill me. I'll just blow you all up together. But the person who really wants to kill you isn't here right now. Melina was on the verge of tears. Oh, Leo's eyebrow arched slightly. Not in the Thorne house. Then where? I don't know. Are you messing with me? Forget it. I'll just blow the place up. Don't. Please don't. I'm begging you. Seeing that Leo was serious, Melina forgot all about her father's warnings and spilled everything she knew in a rush. I really don't know everything. I was eavesdropping outside the study, and I heard my father talking to a mysterious man. It was that man who said he wanted to kill you. He said that young Master Vance from the Vance Dominion wanted you dead, and my father was forced into it. Vance Dominion. Young Master Vance. Leo remembered the name. Julian and Director Jensen had mentioned him on a call. If it weren't for that guy, Leo wouldn't have had to go to the Crucible and get into a sniper duel with that woman, Rose. Forced into it. Leo almost laughed out loud. He was forced to send 7 men to assassinate me? Am I supposed to feel sorry for him? Melina was silent. Leo took a deep breath and didn't press her further. On top of everything, he had that confusing system mission. He had a massive headache. In this situation, how was he supposed to save anyone? Forget it. Worst case, he'd fail the mission. It's not like there was a penalty. Right now, Leo was more interested in the details of the conversation Melina had overheard. Besides killing me, what else did they talk about? Let me think. Melina's face scrunched up in concentration. Right. They also said they needed to find someone named Dr. Quentin Marks. They said that was the most important thing. She didn't mention the part about the Thorne family planning to move against the CF family. Leo was friend with Ethan, and she was afraid he would tell them. If that happened, war between the two families would be inevitable. Melina still wasn't ready for that. At the very least, before the two sides completely broke apart, she wanted to see Ethan one more time, even if it was just a secret glance from afar. Quentin Marks? Leo's brows furrowed. He knew that name well. Director Jensen's only request for this trip to Westlake City was for him to find Dr. Marks. And now, it seemed the Vance Dominion was looking for him, too. Leo was now truly intrigued. What secrets was this Dr. Quentin Marks hiding that so many people were after him? Anything else? And no, that's it. Leo nodded. To him, it didn't seem like Melina was lying. In that case, he'd have to ask Director Jensen about this later. He hadn't been taking the search for Dr. Marks very seriously, but now that the situation had become more complex, he had no choice but to get involved. Since he had the information he needed, there was no point in finding Mason Thorne. Leo prepared to leave. He turned and was about to climb back out the window. Hey, wait. Seeing him about to leave, Melina quickly called out. The explosives? What explosives? Leo asked, confused. This is the peaceful and harmonious city of Westlake. Why would I actually blow up your house? Melina's eyes widened in disbelief. So, everything you just said was a lie. Yeah, lying is bad. I'll try to be better next time. Leo walked to the window, turned back, and gave Melina a smiling wave. Bye-bye. With a fluid motion, he was out of the room, leaving Melina standing there, completely stunned. After leaving the Thorn estate, Leo jogged back the way he came. Reggie was still sleeping on the bench. Leo simply grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and carried him all the way back to the hotel. The moment he was lifted, Reggie cracked open one eye. Seeing it was Leo, he went right back to sleep. He could even sleep while being dangled by his neck, and he did for the entire trip back. Leo didn't go to his own hotel first. He went to find Kane. When the elevator doors opened, Leo stepped out and froze. What are you doing here? Kane was standing outside Ava's room, looking exhausted, chain-smoking to stay awake. Hearing a voice, he turned and saw Leo. A wave of relief washed over him. He had been standing guard for what felt like an eternity, his ears straining, terrified of hearing a distant boom, followed by a phone call from Leo telling him to run. He had already planned his escape route back to Ethelbert, but seeing Leo now, it seemed he hadn't blown anything up. What am I doing here? What do you think I'm doing here? Kane snapped. You told me to protect Ava. I have to stand guard at the door. You want me to go inside and guard her? Are you always this cranky? Your temper is insane, Leo said, baffled. What was wrong with Kane? Cursing up a storm. No manners at all. What about the assassins? What happened? Kane asked urgently. Let's talk in your room, Leo replied. What about Ava? It's fine. I have a solution. Leo walked over to Ava's door and gently placed the dangling Reggie on the floor. He tapped the cat awake. Reggie opened his eyes, looking confused. Meow. Are we home? Silly cat, you sleep right here. If any bad guys get close, you meow as loud as you can. Got it. Reggie. He shook his head, looking around. He wanted to refuse, but then he thought about it. Whatever. Sleeping here is the same as sleeping anywhere else. So, Reggie gave a small nod and went back to sleep. Kane witnessed the entire exchange, his face a mask of placid acceptance. At this point, nothing could surprise him anymore. If Reggie suddenly stood up and transformed into a cat girl, Kane wouldn't even blink. He was Leo's cat, after all. Hurry up, open the door. Let me in, Leo urged, standing at the door to Kane's room. He didn't have a key card. So what was the point of you getting a room at the hotel across the street? Kane grumbled as he opened the door. The bed in Leo's room probably hadn't even been touched. Cut the crap, this is important. The two entered the room, and Leo began to tell Kane everything that had happened. Meanwhile, at Westlake University, in a certain laboratory. At this hour, the lab, filled with all kinds of precise instruments, was empty. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. The door was pushed open, and a figure slowly walked in. The professor looked utterly exhausted, but his eyes still shone with excitement. Earlier that afternoon, he and Henrienne had run another experiment to test his new theory, but it had failed again. That night, the professor had been tossing and turning in bed when inspiration struck. He had found the crucial missing piece. Without even waking Henry, the professor had come to the lab alone, determined to try again. This will work. This has to work. The professor put on his glasses, holding a beaker and carefully pouring various liquids into it. For a time, the only sounds in the lab were the hum of equipment and the faint fizzing of chemical reactions. After what felt like an eternity, the professor held up a test tube, letting out a long sigh of relief. So far, so good. Now, for the most important step. He opened a vial, used an instrument to extract a single drop of liquid, and carefully added it to the test tube. Time seemed to stand still. The professor watched the changes in the tube with absolute focus, gently swirling the contents. After a few moments, the liquid in the test tube turned a deep purple. Seeing this, the professor's face lit up with excitement. He quickly placed the purple solution into an analyzer. After a moment, streams of complex data filled the computer screen. It worked. It worked. The professor stared at the data, shouting with joy. Number 3 gene serum. I finally did it. He panted, his eyes fixed on the screen. Perhaps only he knew what this data truly meant. After his excitement subsided, he carefully took the test tube and placed it in a small, specialized container. Closing the lid, he took a deep breath, removed his glasses, and rubbed his eyes. He returned all the equipment to its proper place, making sure nothing was out of order. Then he walked out of the lab, pulled out his phone, and made a call. Ring. After a long time, the call was answered. A man's deep voice came through. What is it? I told you not to call me unless it was absolutely necessary. The number 3 gene serum. I made it, the professor said, each word deliberate. Hearing this, the man on the other end shot upright, calling out the professor's long-hidden name. Quit it, Marks. Are you sure? I'm sure. Dr. Marks nodded firmly. All the data is perfect. I can't possibly make it any better. The gene serum. Can it restore him? The man's voice was filled with hope. I can't guarantee it completely, but I'm 70% confident, Dr. Marks said. 70%. That's enough. The man paused, then continued. How many more doses can you make? I'm not sure. The remaining materials are almost gone, and the success rate isn't high. I don't know if I can even make a second one. It doesn't matter. You just make as many as you can. I'll give you 3 days, the man said decisively. The Festival of Lights is in 3 days. I'll arrange for someone to pick up the serum then. 3 days is enough. Dr. Marks paused, then added 2 more words. Thank you. Good. That's all. The call ended. Dr. Marks put down his phone and took a deep breath. The excitement in his eyes had faded, replaced by a profound sense of relief. 3 days? That was enough. He had been living in hiding for far too long. The stars tonight are so bright. Dr. Marks looked up at the vast, starry sky, took off his mask, and suddenly began to laugh. As he laughed, tears streamed from his eyes, but he didn't stop. His laughter grew louder, echoing into the night. Under the endless, star-dusted sky, the gray-haired old man wept and laughed, like a man driven mad, finally set free. The next morning, Leo, Evans, and Kane emerged from their respective rooms. Kane looked refreshed. Leo looked miserable. Last night, in Kane's room, after Leo had spilled everything, they'd run into a problem. One bed. How were 2 of them supposed to sleep? Kane had suggested Leo go back to his hotel across the street. Leo refused. The official reason was that he needed to protect Ava. The real reason was that he'd taken a liking to Kane's room. After all, his own place was a definite downgrade. So, Leo suggested Kane go sleep across the street. Kane refused. Leo then proposed rock, paper, scissors. Loser sleeps on the couch. And that was how Leo ended up spending the night on the couch. Nursing a grudge and eating a coffee in cruller, Leo was still stewing in regret. I should have thrown rock last night. Then Kane would have been the one on the couch. So what's the plan now? Kane asked, taking a bite of his breakfast. The Vance Dominion is on to you, and the Thorne family has made a move. You're in a dangerous spot. Leo fell into a thoughtful silence. After a long moment, he said, when you look at it, the root of all this is the Vance Dominion, right? So I have a bold idea. Please retract your bold idea. Kane cut in immediately. That's New York City, and the Vance Dominion isn't some factory owned by the Phone Alliance. You can't just blow it up whenever you feel like it. Whoa. Leo stared at Kane, shocked. How did you know my plan? Is blowing things up the only solution you can think of? Kane was seriously regretting everything, starting with that damned Phone Alliance factory. It had set Leo on this irreversible path. Now, whenever the guy ran into a problem, his first instinct was to just blow it all to hell. Fine. In that case, let's pay a visit to the CF family today, Leo said. I doubt they know about these little moves the Thorns are making. Besides, we're a little short-handed at the moment. So we can approach them and propose a partnership. The CF family? Ethan's family? Kane frowned slightly. Can we trust them? Relax. They're trustworthy, Leo said confidently. And if they're not, we'll just blow them up too. Kane was exhausted. By the way, did you talk to Julian? When is my package arriving? Leo asked. What kind of delivery service do you think will ship you explosives? Raccoon Express, of course. Never heard of it. Kane said, exasperated. Julian said he'd arrange for someone to bring it over as soon as possible, but the earliest it'll get here is probably the day after tomorrow. Leo nodded slowly. That was pretty efficient. He'd let the Thorne family dance around for another couple of days. Then he'd blow them all up. Oh, right? He couldn't blow up Melina Thorne. She was part of a mission. Wait. Something clicked in Leo's mind. He looked up abruptly. Save Melina Thorne? He thought he'd just found a loophole. What's wrong? Kane asked, seeing his expression. Don't interrupt. I'm thinking, Leo said with a frown. He hadn't had a clue about the mission objectives before, but now another bold idea was forming. Could he beat Melina half to death himself and then rescue her? Would that count as saving her? If doing it himself didn't count, what if he had Kane do it, and then he rescued her from Kane? Would that count? Host, please complete the mission through legitimate means. Oh, the system's notification chimed, and Leo grinned. Finally decided to talk. What's so illegitimate about my methods? Just tell me, is she saved or not? Leo argued back in his head. The system ignored him. TCH, useless system, Leo grumbled. Still, the fact that the system had warned him meant his idea was probably viable. At least, that's what Leo thought. He couldn't be 100% sure, though, so he'd have to save it as a last resort. It'd be a waste of effort if he went through with it and the system didn't recognize it. Hey, Leo, why are you eating here again? Ava Reed, holding Sir Reginald Fluffington, walked into the dining area. Seeing Leo and Kane at breakfast, she asked curiously, and why was Reggie sitting at my door the second I opened it? He just started meowing at me. I have no idea what he wants. She was wearing a short skirt and a beret today, her long, fair legs on full display. Leo glanced at them, a little curious. It was already December. The temperature in Westlake City was starting to drop. Didn't she feel cold? What are you looking at? Ava noticed his gaze fixed on her legs and chided him playfully. Ahem. Nothing. Just noticing how pale your legs are, Leo said. Puffed. Kane nearly sprayed a mouthful of coffee. Ava's face immediately flushed red. She shot Leo a glare. There were so many people around, and he had the nerve to say something like that. Just as Ava turned to get her breakfast, Reggie leaped deftly onto the table in front of Leo. Meow. My tuna treats. He then lifted a paw and pointed at Ava. Meow. She doesn't understand me. Leo finally remembered. Last night, he told Reggie to go ask Ava for tuna treats. But where was he supposed to get tuna treats this early in the morning? He casually picked up a cruller and tossed it in front of Reggie. Here, eat this for now. Tuna treats. Next time for sure. Reggie tilted his head, silently staring at the cruller. There were some very rude things he wanted to say, but on second thought, he let it go. A cruller was a cruller. It wasn't inedible. If he could stomach the chicken wings Ava made, he could eat a crull. Reggie lowered his head and started gnawing on the fried dough. Ever since he'd started following Leo, his diet had become increasingly diverse and complex. After Ava sat down with them, Leo and Kane told her everything that had happened the day before. Kane had asked Leo if they should keep it from Ava, worried it would upset her. Leo had called him an idiot. The enemy was already at their doorstep, and he was worried about hiding it from their own people. Fine, hide it then. You can worry about her feelings. When Ava finds out the truth and gets mad, who do you think is going to have to calm her down? The moment Ava heard that someone had tried to assassinate Leo last night, she asked with immediate concern, So, is anyone hurt? Leo froze for a second, thinking Ava was worried about him. He smiled. I'm fine. See? Not a scratch on me. No, I'm under the assassins, okay? Ava's tone was identical to Kane's from the night before, and her words were exactly the same. Leo clamped his mouth shut and fell silent. He felt like people had a huge misunderstanding of him. Now even his dearest Ava was getting the wrong idea. Shouldn't a normal person's first instinct be to worry about him? The victim? Why was it the opposite when it came to him? Leo didn't get it. He really didn't get it. They're fine. Probably sitting in a BSO holding cell right now, Leo said irritably. Of course, if something did happen to them, it was the BSO's doing. Nothing to do with me. Ava and Kane both gave him looks filled with suspicion. They didn't quite believe him. It's true, Leo said, getting agitated. If you don't believe me, ask Lucia Shang. Lucia? Ava asked, confused. What does this have to do with her? So Leo started explaining about Lucia, and while he was at it, he told them about going to the Thorne residence and meeting Melina. Really? The moment Ava heard about the photo of Melina and Ethan, she clapped a hand over her mouth. In her bright eyes, Leo could see two words. Gimme. The T. Of course. I even took pictures. Leo pulled out his phone and showed Ava the 3 photos he'd taken. Wow, that's really intimate. Tell me about it. I always had a feeling that Ethan guy was no good. Don't say that. What if it's a misunderstanding? I don't think Ethan is that kind of player. You've only known him for a few days. You can't judge a book by its cover, you know. The two of them huddled together, chattering away about the photos like two gossips who'd just hit the motherlode. Kane sat across from them, lines forming on his forehead. What were they doing? Weren't they supposed to be having a serious conversation? Ahem. Ahem, ahem. Kane coughed several times, trying to get Leo and Ava to rein it in. They both noticed his coughing and looked up at him, curious. What's wrong, Kane? Got a cold? Leo asked. The weather's getting chilly, Kane. You should take care of yourself, Ava added. Kane felt his soul weary. He finally understood why these two were a couple. They were equally clueless. Just then, Reggie jumped back onto the table. The crawler had made him thirsty. He looked at the 3 cups, and his gaze finally settled on Kane's coffee. Meow. Can I have a sip? Reggie meowed at him. Kane looked at the cat, confused. What do you want? Meow. Thanks. Reggie lowered his head and started lapping at Kane's coffee. As far as he was concerned, Kane not immediately refusing was the same as giving permission. However, after only 2 sips, Kane grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and lifted him into the air. Meow. He tilted his head up in confusion, only to be met with a sharp flick on the forehead. Kane said menacingly, "Who do you think you are? I'll let them get away with it, but what makes you think you can join in?" With that, he dropped Reggie on the floor. Reggie covered his head with his paws, his eyes welling up with tears. He felt wronged. He was about to curse Kane out when a bowl of coffee was placed in front of him. It was Kane's. "Drink up. It can't be easy being Leo's cat." At those words, Reggie almost burst into tears. In that moment, looking at Kane, he thought he'd never seen a more handsome man. He felt that Kane understood him. Forgetting all about the coffee, Reggie jumped onto the table and began to complain bitterly to Kane about how Leo treated him. However, Kane couldn't understand a word. "What are you meowing about? Is the coffee not good?" Reggie's voice died in his throat, and the disappointment in his eyes was palpable. He hopped off the table and started drinking his coffee in sullen silence. "Forget it. We're different species, after all. Not the same kind of cat." Leo. Seeing that Leo was still whispering with Ava, Kane couldn't take it anymore. "Aren't we going to the Sierra residence?" He was already full. Was having a girlfriend that great? Seriously. His words snapped Leo back to reality. Damn it. It was all Ava's fault for making him forget about their mission. "Right. After breakfast, we're heading to the CF family," Leo said to Ava. "To the CF family?" Ava, nibbling on a sandwich, nodded slightly without asking why. She didn't have any plans anyway, so she might as well go with Leo, though she didn't know why they were going. She figured if Leo said so, he must have a good reason. Little did she know, Leo's primary reason for going was to shove those photos in Ethan's face and mock him mercilessly. 2.5 hours later, the group arrived at the gate of the CF family estate. Leo was carrying a carton of milk and a bag of fruit. "Leo, did you tell Ethan we were coming?" Kane asked. "Nope. Then why didn't you give him a heads up?" "It's fine. I told his dad." "You told who?" Kane's eyes widened, but before he could say another word, the main gate opened. A man who looked like a butler emerged, scanned the 3 of them, and finally fixed his gaze on Leo. He hurried over and shook Leo's hand. "You must be Leo Evans. I'm the CF family's butler. My name is Zhang, but you can just call me the butler." He paused, then added, "The master said you should be arriving soon, so I came to greet you. Sorry to have kept you all waiting." "You're too kind, Mr. Butler. We just got here," Leo said with a broad smile. "You could just call me Leo. That's what Mr. Xie calls me." "Oh, that wouldn't be appropriate. Please come with me. The master is already waiting for you in the living room." "Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Butler. It's my pleasure. It's what a butler does." Leo glanced back at the dumbfounded Kane, didn't bother with him, and took Ava's hand as he walked inside. Kane snapped out of it and hurried to catch up. "Hey, Leo, what's going on?" he whispered, gesturing surreptitiously at the butler walking ahead of him. "You know the head of the CF family?" "HM? I didn't tell you guys," Leo said nonchalantly. "Ethan's father, Mr. Xie. I get along pretty well." "When did you ever tell us that?" Kane muttered under his breath. Why was Leo always like this? Always pulling some huge surprise out of nowhere. This was the first time Ava had heard about it, too. "So, is he like an elder to you?" she asked. She quickly glanced down at her outfit, wanting to make a good impression. "It's fine. Mr. Xie is a really easygoing guy. Don't worry," Leo said with an amused smile. "Mr. Evans, we've arrived." The butler was just about to open the door. At that moment, a familiar figure opened it from the inside first. It was Ethan Xie. He had no idea they were coming and was just about to head out to find Leo. Lucia had called him last night and told him what happened, which made him desperate to find Leo and get the full story. So, he'd woken up and was rushing out the door. "Yo, Ethan. Heading out." Leo greeted him. "Oh, it's you, Leo. I'm in a hurry, so I can't hang out," Ethan said, brushing past him. He took 2 steps, then froze. Wait, the person who just said hi, was that Leo? Ethan turned around mechanically, just in time to see Leo grinning and waving at him. "All right then, you go on ahead. We'll talk later." "No, wait a minute," Ethan shouted, pointing at Leo in disbelief. "What the hell are you doing here? What kind of talk is that?" "Have some manners," Leo said matter-of-factly. "I came all the way to Westlake City, so of course I had to pay a visit to Mr. Xie." He held up the fruit and milk he was carrying. Ethan glanced at them and recognized them as being from the fruit stand right outside their gate. He rushed forward, grabbed Leo by the collar, and hissed, "You punk. I was about to come looking for you, and you just show up at my door." What the hell happened last night? See, there you go again, getting all worked up, Leo said, patting Ethan's hand. Mr. Sia is inside. I'll explain everything at once, so I don't have to repeat myself. With that, he pulled a black pouch from his pocket. Inside were Ethan's throwing knives. Here, I even brought these back for you. No need to thank me. Ethan took the pouch, eyeing Leo suspiciously, and opened it right there. He shouldn't have looked. One glance was all it took. What the hell did you do with my knives? Ethan demanded in a low voice. Nothing. They're perfectly fine, see? Then why the hell is there blood on them? You should ask yourself that. They're your knives, after all, Leo said, looking at Ethan with an expression of pure innocence, as if he truly knew nothing. Then Leo added, oh, right? If Lucia asks you for the knives later, just be sure to cooperate. He patted Ethan on the shoulder, and without waiting for a reply, led Ava and Kane into the Sia residence, leaving Ethan standing there, his world spinning. Mr. Sia, I'm here to see you. The moment Leo stepped into the living room and saw Mr. Sia, he instantly transformed into a well-behaved, polite young man. Ha ha, Leo, you're here. Mr. Sia stood up, a broad smile on his face. It's been too long since I've seen you, kid. Uncle Sia, I brought you some fruit and milk. Oh, you shouldn't have. Just coming is enough. No need to bring gifts. I was planning to visit as soon as I got to Westlake City, but Ethan insisted on stopping me. He even said, what's so great about seeing some old geezer? Ethan, who had just walked in, heard this and froze, completely baffled. When the hell did I ever say that? Ha ha, Mr. Sia burst out laughing, pointing at Leo. It's been a while, but you're still as shameless as ever, spouting lies without a second thought. He then added with a hint of regret, if that little brat Ethan could learn even a fraction of that from you, I'd be satisfied. Ethan? Question mark. He walked into the living room, looking at his father speechlessly. Dad, who's your son here? Me or Leo? TCH, to be honest, I've actually wanted to make Leo my godson, Mr. Sia said with a smile, gesturing at Leo. I've asked him several times, but he just won't agree. Ethan was stunned. When did this happen? How'd he not know? Oh, right. Uncle Sia, this is my girlfriend, Ava Reed, Leo introduced. And this is my partner, Kane. Hello, Mr. Sia. Kane and Ava quickly stepped forward to greet him. Hello, hello. Please sit down, sit down. Let's talk. After everyone was seated, Mr. Sia's eyes twinkled as he looked Ava over. Your last name is Reed, and you're from Ethelberg. Young lady, is your father's name Anthony Reed? His words stunned the three of them. You know my father? Ava asked curiously. Mr. Sia nodded, a nostalgic look on his face. The last time I saw him was probably several years ago. Back then, the Westlake City BSO didn't operate the way it does now. I happened to acquire a batch of high explosives, and that guy Anthony, he sniffed them out right away. Said he needed them to help a friend in a fight, and borrowed the whole lot. He shook his head, sighing. Later, I heard he blew up the crucible. Luckily, he never said where he got the explosives. Otherwise, I'd probably be in a world of trouble myself. Hearing this piece of history, everyone had different expressions. Ethan's eyes were wide. He'd never heard his father mention any of this. Leo, Ava, and Kane never would have guessed that the explosives Anthony Reed used to blow up the crucible had been supplied by Mr. Sia. I am so sorry, Mr. Sia. My father caused you so much trouble, Ava said, blushing as she apologized on behalf of her dad. At the same time, she wondered just how many other things Anthony Reed had done behind her and her brother's backs. Ha ha, it's not that serious. It was no big deal, Mr. Sia said, waving his hand. Next time you see him, just tell him to come over for tea sometime. Okay, I'll be sure to tell him, Ava said earnestly. Meanwhile, Leo had taken a keen interest in Mr. Sia's high explosives. Uncle Sia, those explosives. Do you still have any? Leo asked excitedly. The moment he said it, Ava and Kane were on high alert. Nope, Anthony took them all that year. Ava and Kane breathed a sigh of relief. But I can tell you where they were originally from. Don't, Ava and Kane said in unison. Mr. Sia, whatever you do, don't tell him. Mr. Sia looked at them, confused. Question mark. What was going on? Why were they suddenly so agitated? Kane cleared his throat awkwardly. Ahem, Mr. Sia, why don't we talk about something else? Leo looked annoyed and was about to speak. Ava shot him a warning glare. Leo shut his mouth. Ethan gave Leo a mocking look. Whipped. Leo flipped Ethan the bird. Just you wait, punk. We'll see if you're still laughing later. Kane looked at Leo and said, Stop messing around. Let's get to the point. Oh, Mr. Sia looked surprised. You have other business here today? That's right, Uncle Sia. Leo looked at Mr. Sia, paused, and then said, I'll get straight to it. How much do you know about the Thorne family? Mr. CF frowned slightly. In what respect? Do you know they're in contact with the Vance Dominion? At that, Mr. Sia's pupils contracted. Where did you get this information? He asked in a grave tone. Is it reliable? Melina Thorne told me. Melina? The name made both father and son freeze. You've seen Melina? Ethan asked Leo. Where did you see her? Leo then recounted everything that had happened the previous night. As Mr. Sia listened, his expression grew increasingly serious. The news Leo brought had caught him completely off guard. After Leo finished explaining everything that had happened the night before, the living room fell into a heavy silence. Mr. Sia was frowning in deep thought. Ethan, on the other hand, was completely stunned. His mind was filled with two words. It's over. It's all over. The moment he knew Leo had met Melina, he'd had a bad feeling. Knowing Leo, he would have seized the opportunity to get some kind of leverage to use against him. Sure enough, just as that thought crossed Ethan's mind, he saw Leo shoot him a malicious look paired with a particularly sleazy grin. Ethan knew that he and Leo were about to play a high-stakes game. But for now, the more important matters had to take precedence. Mr. Sia pondered for a long time before turning to Ethan. You little brat, what do you think? Dad, can you please stop calling me that? Ethan complained silently, but he still replied, if what Leo said is true, then based on what I know of Melina, it's almost certainly the case. Mr. Sia nodded slowly. That old fox Mason Thorne. I never thought he was hiding so much. Looking back, the Thorne family's sudden rise to power back then probably had the Vance Dominion's influence behind it. But that's not the point. What we need to figure out now is how much more the Thorne family is hiding. And what is Mason Thorne's attitude toward our family now? At that, Ethan's expression changed. Dad, you mean you're worried the Thorne family will backstab us? It's not just a worry. The more I think about it, the more likely it seems, Mr. Sia said. He suddenly stood up and paced over to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the distant scenery. Hey, Ethan, look over here. Taking advantage of the moment, Leo pulled out his phone, opened the photos, and flashed them at Ethan from across the room. The first glance at the photos made Ethan's pupils shrink. Damn it, Leo, you son of a bitch. He wanted to lunge for the phone, but remembering his father was in the room, Ethan restrained himself. He could only sit there helplessly, watching Leo's punchable expression. Even more infuriating, Leo mouthed 3 words to him without making a sound. Ethan, bro. Ethan understood. The light in his eyes faded. The Thorne family, the Vance Dominion, he couldn't be bothered to think about any of it anymore. He had only one thing on his mind: how to quietly dispose of Leo Evans. Just then, Mr. Sia turned back around and looked at Ethan. Has Melina sent you any messages in the past 2 days? Huh. Ethan was taken aback. Why was he asking that? Still, he answered truthfully. No. Does she usually message you? Yes. How often? Almost every day. Hearing that, Mr. Sia's tightly knit brow relaxed, and he let out a deep sigh. Then, in a calm voice, he said one sentence. Have the family prepare for war. His words stunned everyone. Leo was also a bit confused. Why the sudden call to arms? Another war? He just finished fighting in Ethelberg and had only been in Westlake City for 2 days, and now they were going to war again? Were these syndicates really that brutal? Starting wars every other week? Dad, isn't that a bit of an overreaction? Ethan said quickly. What if the Thorne family has no such intention? No, Mr. Sia cut him off. The Thorne family will make a move against us. His tone was absolutely certain. Seeing the confused looks on everyone's faces, Mr. Sia sighed. He was about to explain when he noticed Leo had a look of sudden realization. Leo, you understand? You're amazing, Uncle Sia. I only figured it out after you said that. I really can't compare to you. Leo took the opportunity to suck up to Mr. Sia. Ava and Kane looked at Leo doubtfully, and Ethan was even more incredulous. You figured it out again? Then you tell us. Why will the Thorne family definitely make a move? Simple. Because of Melina's message, Leo said, looking at Ethan as he began to explain on Mr. Sia's behalf. When I was at the Thorne residence, Melina only gave me 2 pieces of information. 1. The Vance Dominion told Mason Thorne to kill me. 2. They're looking for Dr. Quentin Marks. But no matter how you look at it, neither of these things has anything to do with the CF family. And Melina doesn't know about my relationship with Ethan. So, the question is, if in Melina's eyes, neither of these things is related to the CF family, why was she afraid to contact Ethan? At that, Ethan swallowed hard. He understood now, too, but he still found it hard to accept. It's simple. Melina was hiding something from me. She hid something she couldn't tell me, because if I knew, then Ethan would know, too. and the Thorne and CF families have been partners for so many years. What could Melina have possibly overheard that she wouldn't dare tell the CF family, wouldn't dare tell Ethan? At this point, if you use a hypothetical scenario and substitute in the fact that the Thorne family is planning to move against the CF family, it all makes perfect sense. After Leo finished, Ava and Kane looked at him in surprise. They had only one thought. Leo actually has a brain? Kane had thought the guy was only capable of blowing things up. But this little speech completely changed his impression of Leo. As for Ava, though she was surprised, a moment's thought made it understandable. He was a math genius, after all. How could he be an idiot? Math relied heavily on logical thinking. Though Leo's usual thought processes were a bit unorthodox, they were often simple and brutally effective. So now, Ava was filled with pride. Leo was her boyfriend now. It wasn't a bad thing for her boyfriend to have a sharp mind. Leo is completely right. I knew you were a smart kid back then, and it seems I was right. Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it without your guidance, Uncle Sia. I've still got a long way to go to catch up to you, Leo said, scratching his head modestly. Mister. Sia couldn't help but marvel. Not only was Leo sharp, but his brown nosing was also perfectly timed. He glanced at Ethan with a look of disappointment, sighing inwardly. Although Ethan was already an excellent heir to the family, when compared to Leo, there was still a noticeable gap. So that's how it is. We'll have the family prepare for war first, so we're not caught off guard by the Thorns. And we absolutely cannot make the first move. Otherwise, the reputation of a backstabber will fall on us. Mister. Sia looked at Ethan and grinned. And hey, weren't you just worrying about how to deal with the Melina situation? Now you don't have to. Once the Thorne family is gone, you can focus on your relationship. But Ethan couldn't bring himself to smile. The sudden turn of events had left his mind in a mess. Leo, I really have to thank you for bringing us this news, haha. Mister. Sia was all smiles now, his earlier stern, frowning expression gone. He showed no sense of urgency about the impending war. Today, you absolutely have to do your Uncle Sia a favor and stay for dinner, Mister. Sia said, smiling at the three of them. And Ava, Kane, you too as well. Stay. Let me be a good host. Mister. Sia, you're too kind. In that case, Ava glanced at Leo, letting him decide whether they should stay for dinner. And Leo, of course he wouldn't be polite with Mister. Sia. Uncle Sia, can we request dishes? Leo asked excitedly. Also, can your chef make me a jumbo-sized Inferno burrito? Ha, of course. I'll have the butler arrange it in a bit. Mister. Sia actually quite liked Leo's shamelessness. Ava turned her head away, a little embarrassed. Who requests specific dishes when they're a guest at someone's house? But then she remembered this was Leo, and it suddenly made sense. I'm going to go make arrangements for the war preparations. You all just have fun, wander around, make yourselves at home, Mister. Sia said. This was directed at Ava and Kane. There was no need to be so polite with Leo, because Leo was even less polite than he was. Okay, Mister. Sia, you go ahead. As Mister. Sia left, he instructed Ethan to be a good host to Leo and the others. Ethan was speechless. Already been playing tour guide for 2 damn days. More hosting? Was he, the great heir of the CF family, just here to entertain? After Mr. Sia left, Leo walked up to Ethan with a sleazy grin. Leo, Ethan, not he. Leo slung an arm around Ethan's shoulder and whispered in a mockingly sweet tone. Hey then, bro, let's have a little chat, shall we? Don't make me fight you right here. Go ahead, try it. See if Uncle Sia beats you down or not. Ethan clenched his fists and took a deep breath. Name your price. What will it take for you to delete the photos? First, you have to tell me what's going on with you too, Leo said with a grin. That way, I'll know how high to set the price. Not far away, Ava discreetly perked up her ears, intending to eavesdrop. It wasn't very polite, but she was curious. Ethan saw her and hesitated for a long time before finally sighing. Fine, he resigned himself to his fate. He was planning on asking Leo for advice anyway. She's sort of my childhood friend. I see her as a little sister. TSK, she clearly doesn't see you as a big brother, Leo scoffed, then asked curiously, does your girl Lucia know about this? Yeah, she knows. No wonder the BSO is always targeting the Thorne family. It has nothing to do with that, okay? Ethan said, exasperated. Lucia, trust me, and all of the BSO's actions against the Thorne family are completely legal and by the book. There's no personal bias involved. Leo nodded. He believed that. After all, he himself had almost been given the by-the-book treatment by Lucia just last night. If it weren't for his connection to Director Jensen, he might be making license plates right now. Since they were on the topic, Ethan didn't care about the photos anymore. He asked Leo, just help me think of a solution. What am I supposed to do in this situation? Leo pursed his lips. How should I know? I don't have a little sister calling me Leo, bro. Don't you dare say the word bro to me again. Okay, then bro. The next second, a throwing knife was pressed against Leo's chin. Ethan's face was expressionless. Say it again. I dare you. Leo's mouth twitched. He didn't dare move, staring at Ethan in shock. Seriously, man? You're actually good with these things? Ethan had moved so fast that even Leo hadn't reacted in time. Even though he hadn't activated his Gale Force skill, the display was pretty ridiculous. He'd originally thought Ethan's throwing knives were just for show, something he practiced to look cool. He never expected him to be a master. See, there you go again, getting worked up, Leo said with a nervous laugh, slowly pushing the knife away. Oomph. Ethan snorted, retracting the knife. Hurry up. Do you have a solution or not? Leo considered for a moment. Why don't you go talk it over with Lucia? Ask her if she can accept Melina. Are you trying to get me killed? TSK, you can't even do that? Is that how little power you have in your relationship? Leo mocked. I'm not like you. My Ava listens to me. If I say go east, she'd never dare go west. If I say we're eating at McDonald's today, she wouldn't dare go to KFC. Ethan was silent. You should look behind you. Leo turned around. Ava was standing right there, a sweet smile on her face as she spoke softly. Oh, so you have such high status in our relationship. You know, I had no idea I was so obedient. In that moment, two words flashed in Leo's mind. I'm dead. He'd gotten carried away with his trash talk and hadn't noticed Ava was there. Leo turned to look at Ethan, his eyes pleading for help. Leo, save me, save me. Ethan, rest in peace. Oomph. Ava snorted. If they weren't at the Sierra residence, she would have already tackled Leo to the ground and beaten him senseless. All he did was run his mouth when they were out. The reason she had walked over was that she'd heard the advice Leo gave Ethan and just couldn't stand it. Wasn't he just making things worse? What kind of terrible advice is that? If he really said that to Lucia, she'd definitely get angry. Leo nodded frantically. You're right. I wasn't thinking. My bad. Ethan now looked to Ava, asking desperately, so what should I do? Ava was a girl. She should be able to offer some useful suggestions. At the very least, she was more reliable than Leo. Ethan wanted to slap himself for being stupid enough to ask Leo for advice in the first place. It's simple. Just tell Melina directly that you don't like her, that you only see her as a sister, and that you hope to keep some distance in the future, Ava said, not understanding. Is that one sentence so hard to say? But wouldn't that be too cruel? The way you're dragging this out right now is what's cruel to her, Ava said, then added, and she doesn't know you're already in a relationship, right? But Ethan shook his head. No, she knows. I told her before, but I never expected her to be so persistent. She kept saying she wanted to meet my girlfriend, but you know my relationship with Lucia can't be made public yet. So I kept making excuses, and over time, she started to suspect I didn't have a girlfriend at all and was just lying to her. Ethan couldn't explain the full extent of his troubles. Hearing Ethan's explanation, Ava was speechless. Leo, meanwhile, was thinking to himself, I had no idea that Melina girl was such a simp. What's so great about Ethan? He already has a girlfriend, and she's still chasing after him? TSK, pathetic. Ava sighed. I still think you should just be clear with her. Dragging it on like this isn't good for you, and it's even worse for her. Ethan listened, his face a mask of misery. I'll think about it. If he had no other choice, he'd probably have to just lay it all out. Better to rip the Band-Aid off quickly, after all. Come on, let me show you guys around. The group began to wander through the Sierra estate. As for Reggie, he had already vanished. Leo had no idea why that silly cat was always running off. When he asked, Reggie would just say he was making friends. To this day, Leo had yet to see any of these supposed friends. Meanwhile, in the study of the Sierra residence, after arranging everything, Mr. Sierra returned to his study alone, took out his phone, and made a call. The contact on the screen read, Director Shang. What is it? Director Shang's tone was impatient. Mr. See, I didn't mind. Just got some news. The Vance Dominion is behind the Thorne family. Where did you get this information? Don't worry about that. I'm just letting you know, so you can stop staring at my family all the time, Mr. C.S. said. Ever since you came to Westlake City, you've suspected one of our two families had ties to New York, haven't you? Well, now the Thorne family has shown their hand. Our family's name should be cleared, right? Director Shang was silent for a moment. You've been partners with the Thorne family for years. How can I be sure you're not in on this together? You bastard. We've been friends for years. I didn't care when you suspected me before, but you're still suspecting me now. Mister. See, I was getting angrier as he spoke. Director Shang, am I being too nice to you? If my son wasn't dating your daughter, do you think I'd be this polite? Do you have any idea what my temper was like back in the day? Just for that accusation, I'd be leading my men to the BSO to beat you up right now. Heh. Director Shang's laugh sounded mocking. I'm the only one at the BSO right now. You dare come? Anyway, keep an eye on the Thorne family's movements these next few days. I have a feeling they're about to make a move, Mr. CS said, changing the subject. What, you don't dare? I'm being serious. Have your people at the BSO pay close attention. After all these years, you're still all talk. Damn it, that's enough out of you, Mr. See, I couldn't take it anymore. Suddenly, an idea struck him. A smirk spread across his face. So what if you're the great Director Shang? When my son marries your daughter, the grandchildren they have will be named Xia, not Shang. Director Shang, your grandchildren will have my last name. Ha ha ha. On the other end of the line, Director Shang went silent. Faintly, Mr. See, I thought he heard the sound of something crashing. He was about to taunt him some more, but Director Shang hung up. TSK, that old coot can't take a joke, Mr. Xia chuckled, putting his phone down. He stood up and stretched contentedly. He was in an excellent mood. In that moment, he wished Ethan would marry Lucia immediately so he could mock Director Shang every single day. Westlake City BSO Director's office. Director Shang's face was ashen. He placed his phone on the desk, picked up a file, and began to flip through it, his expression growing grim. The Thorne family and the Vance Dominion. Director Shang's eyes flickered. He closed them and began to think. The Thorne family had stayed hidden for so many years. Why make a move now? The Vance Dominion had been holding the Thorne family as a trump card. Their ambitions were clearly not small. So what do the Vance Dominion want most right now? Gene serum. At that thought, Director Shang's eyes snapped open. As he'd suspected, Dr. Marx's existence had been exposed. Those people from the Vance Dominion still haven't given up? Director Shang snorted. Truly greedy. The fall of one sovereign syndicate wasn't enough to satisfy the appetites of two families. Director Shang stared at his phone, hesitating for a long time before finally picking it up. He looked at a number he hadn't called in a long time and dialed. Jensen, I need your help. On the other end, Director Jensen was silent for a long moment. Director Shang, you've got some nerve. You disappear for this long, and you think you can just call me for a favor? Let's skip the pleasantries. Are you going to help or not? Is this about Dr. Marx? You knew. Director Shang was surprised. Director Jensen snorted. I suspected you took Dr. Marx back then. I only recently confirmed that both of you were in Westlake City. In that case, I'll be brief. Director Shang didn't beat around the bush. Dr. Marx's research on the number 3 gene serum was a success. There's a 70% chance it can save Sterling. Director Shang, are you out of your goddamn mind? Hearing this news, Jensen wasn't happy. Instead, he roared. Back then, a faulty number 1 gene serum was enough to trigger the Manhattan incident. Have you forgotten how many people died in the Manhattan incident? The consequences? To this day, the BSO headquarters in New York is a ghost of its former self. Anthony Reed is still running around, trying to clean up the mess from back then. And you dare let Dr. Marx continue researching that stuff? Do you have a brain in your head? Director Shang was berated into silence, his fists clenched tight, not saying a word. He knew that the emergence of the number 3 gene serum would likely trigger another Manhattan incident. No, it could be even worse. But, Jensen, you know as well as I do, the BSO can't function without Sterling. Sterling, all you ever talk about is Sterling. Is Sterling your damn father? Jensen panted, saying word by word. All those people died just to save him. Was it worth it? It was. Director Shang said without hesitation. Sterling is the soul of the BSO. Without him, there is no BSO. Jensen was speechless. He knew no one could persuade Director Shang. The man was as stubborn as they come. But then again, who in the BSO wasn't? Knowing he couldn't stop him, Jensen had no choice but to say, tell me the situation first. I'll see if I can help. Okay. Director Shang paused, then said 2 words with solemn gravity. Thank you. At Westlake University, Henry Yin was rushing toward the laboratory. He had received a message from his professor early that morning, telling him the experiment was a success. In his shock, Henry had completely forgotten about Leo's jacket, which he had planned to return that day. Now, how could he possibly think about a jacket? Professor, you said the experiment was a success. Is it true? Pushing open the lab door, Henry asked without even catching his breath. Inside, Dr. Quentin Marx was mixing various reagents. On Director Shang's orders, he had to produce as much number 3 gene serum as possible within 3 days. Hearing Henry's voice, Dr. Marx paused his work and turned around. Oh, Henry, you're here. Dr. Marx breathed a small sigh of relief. If he had to do all this work alone, his body might not hold up, Henry had been involved with the number 3 gene serum experiment from the beginning and could help shoulder much of the workload. Here, look. Dr. Marks, smiling, led Henry to a box and gently opened it, revealing the number 3 gene serum inside. Last night, I was lying in bed when it suddenly occurred to me that our previous failures might have been due to an issue with the reagent quantities in the very first step. So, last night, I tried diluting our initial reagent slightly, and it was a success. Henry's eyes widened, his hand trembling slightly. After calming himself, he dared to reach out and pick up the vial of gene serum from the box. Henry held the vial up to his eyes, which were filled with excitement, almost to the point of tears. Although we succeeded, I just tried again, and without exception, every attempt failed. Clearly, there's a specific success rate, Dr. Marks said, his eyes burning with intensity as he looked at Henry. Henry, I need your help. Within 3 days, before the Festival of Lights, we must use up all the materials in the lab and produce as much gene serum as possible. So, I need your help. Hearing this, Henry carefully placed the vial back in the box, his gaze still fixed on it with fiery passion. Don't worry, Professor. No matter what, I will do everything in my power to help you. He didn't ask why it had to be 3 days, nor did he ask why they had to use up all the materials so urgently. There was no need to ask. All Henry knew was that they had succeeded, and now his professor needed him. Professor, just tell me what I need to do. Dr. Marks was deeply moved. He felt incredibly fortunate to have come to Westlake University and met a student like Henry. He was Henry's hope, and Henry was his salvation. Good. I'm counting on you, then. Dr. Marks immediately began to assign tasks to Henry. Their time was extremely tight. The professor and his student plunged into their work in the lab, forgetting to eat, forgetting the time, and forgetting all about Leo's jacket. At that moment, at the Thorne residence, Lucia Shang, accompanied by 2 BSO agents, paid a visit to Mason Thorne. The 3 men they'd brought in last night had sung like canaries before the interrogation even began. The first person they named was Mason Thorne, the mastermind behind the operation. To reduce their sentences, they had even provided evidence detrimental to the Thorne family, including details of some of the family's dirty dealings, like hiring hitmen in the past. It was all handed over to the BSO. So, today, Lucia intended to warn Mason Thorne. With only this evidence, she couldn't bring him in. Inspector Shang, what is the meaning of this today? In the Thorne family living room, Mason sat on the sofa, showing no signs of panic upon seeing Lucia. Instead, he feigned confusion. Could it be that someone from my family has misbehaved again and crossed the BSO's line? Though his words were filled with doubt, Mason knew exactly why Lucia was here. Damn those 7 bastards for selling me out. Mr. Thorne, you really don't know why I'm here today. Lucia asked with a hint of mockery. Last night, you hired 7 assassins to kill Leo Evans. Have you already forgotten about that? Oh, Mason feigned surprise. Such a thing happened? I had no idea. Is that Mr. Evans all right? Inspector Shang, you can't just throw baseless accusations at my family. We've been keeping a low profile for a long time. Lucia said softly. Then why did those assassins all say you were the one who commissioned them? That's clearly a frame-up. Mason said, throwing his hands up. Perhaps someone has a grudge against me and wants to frame my family. Mason wasn't worried about Lucia arresting him, because she had no proof. If she did, knowing her personality, she wouldn't be chatting with him for this long. She would have slapped a pair of silver bracelets on him the moment she walked in. Then how do you explain this? With that, Lucia produced a stack of documents and tossed them on the table. This was the information provided by the 3 men. It detailed all the shady activities the Thorne family had been involved in recently. Mason frowned, picked up the file, and flipped through a few pages. Then he sighed deeply. Inspector Shang, my family accepts responsibility for the matters described here. Lucia raised an eyebrow. Mason was admitting to it. Sigh, to be honest, I only recently discovered that some of the people in my family have dirty hands and were involved in such things. Mason walked to a cabinet, took out a file from a drawer, and handed it to Lucia. Just yesterday, I identified all of them and was planning to send them to the BSO myself. Everything in your file was, without exception, done by these people. So, for these matters, we admit our management was lax. Mason looked grief-stricken. Those bastards, I rounded them all up yesterday. They're just outside. It pains me to have such people in my family. Inspector Shang, I implore you to take them back and interrogate them harshly. They must be taught a profound lesson. Lucia was silent. She hadn't expected Mason to be so ruthless, just throwing a batch of his own people to her. She glanced at the list and saw there were quite a few names. but almost all of them were fringe members of the Thorne family, a disposable bunch. Inspector Shang, is there anything else? Mason asked with a smile. You can say whatever you want. Mason Thorne, and the entire Thorne family will cooperate with you. Lucia was silent for a long moment, then shook her head slightly. There's nothing else. Mr. Thorne, thank you for your cooperation today. Lucia knew this trip had been a waste. You two, go bring in the people outside. Yes, ma'am. Even if they were fringe members, Lucia wasn't going to let them go. Then, Mr. Thorne, I won't disturb you any longer. Inspector Shang, please see yourself out. I want to escort you. As she was leaving, Lucia passed the turn of the staircase and suddenly looked up. Melina was standing on the landing, watching her. Their eyes met for a few seconds before Melina looked away first and returned to her room. Seeing this, Lucia sighed inwardly. That bastard Ethan, dragging this on for so long, it's just... Shaking her head to clear her thoughts, Lucia continued on her way out. After Lucia left, Mason Thorne returned to his study, his face instantly darkening. He slammed his fist on the desk. If he hadn't prepared last night, Lucia might have actually caught him off guard today. What he couldn't figure out was how the BSO had managed to catch those 7 men. And why wasn't Leo Evans dead? Thinking of this, Mason took out his phone and called Zeke's phone. As soon as the call connected, Mason said bluntly, I failed. That Leo Evans is something else. I can't kill him. Zeke was silent for a moment before replying. Put the matter of Leo Evans aside for now. Someone else will deal with him. What's most important now is that your family prepares for war. War? Mason's heart skipped a beat. He quickly asked, so suddenly? Yes. We've confirmed DR. Marx's general location. When the time is right, we will make our move, Zeke continued. When that happens, I need you to launch a surprise attack on the CF family and take them down as quickly as possible. Mason frowned. You want me to start a war in the main city district? And not just you. Once the fighting starts, who's going to care about city districts? Zeke's voice was low and deliberate. This will be a small scale. Manhattan incident. The Manhattan incident. Those words made Mason's fist clench. He was cursing Zeke out in his mind. In a battle of this magnitude, one wrong move could mean the annihilation of the Thorne family. Mason was already regretting getting involved, but he had no choice. Between the Thorne and CF families, only one could survive. When will the operation begin? Mason asked. I don't know, but it will be soon, within the next few days. Where's DR? Marx, you don't need to worry about that. Just do your part and wait for my signal. Zeke hung up. Putting down the phone, Mason's expression was dark. Things had spun completely out of his control. Starting a war in the main city district will inevitably alert the BSO. Mason had a headache. He didn't know what the Vance Dominion was thinking. The moment the Thorne and CF families went to war, the BSO would surely side with the CS. How was he supposed to win? What makes Zeke think I can take down the CF family so quickly? Either he has a way to draw away the BSO, or he's using my family as cannon fodder to attract the BSO's attention. If it was the former, that would be fine. But if it was the latter, then the Thorne family was in grave danger. He hadn't built his family up to what it was today, just to be someone else's pawn. Mason's eyes flickered. He stood up and walked out. He needed to make some preparations of his own. Evening at the Sia residence. Cheers. Leo and the others, along with the CF family, sat around a large round table, happily raising their glasses. After downing their drinks, Leo eagerly dug into the jumbo-sized Inferno burrito made especially for him. He ate with abandon, completely disregarding his image. Ava covered her face with her hand and quietly moved her chair a little farther away from Leo. It was a bit embarrassing. Ha ha, eat up, eat more. Mr. Sia, seeing Leo like this, didn't find it strange at all. Instead, he laughed heartily. Ethan was getting a little jealous. Ever since Leo arrived, the smile hadn't left his father's face. Who was the real son here? Just as he was about to speak, his phone vibrated. Ethan took it out, and the moment he saw the caller ID, his pupils contracted. Melina, why is she calling me now? I need to take this, Ethan said, then left the table and went back to his room, closing the door behind him. Hello, Melina. Hello, Ethan bro. Melina's voice sounded nervous. Are you doing okay lately? Hearing her, Ethan sighed softly. He felt that Ava was right. Some things needed to be cleared up, and this was the perfect opportunity. Melina, there's something I want to tell you. I have something I want to tell you too. Both fell silent. Soon, Melina spoke up. You go first, Ethan bro. Ethan took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts before speaking softly. Melina, you have feelings for me, don't you? On the other end of the line, Melina froze. She had a bad feeling. You noticed? Melina forced a laugh. Right, I guess I was a little too obvious. I must have caused you trouble, Ethan bro. After all, you have a girlfriend. I'll try to control myself in the future. Melina, Ethan interrupted. Let's just end it here. Dragging this on isn't good for either of us. I'm sorry. I should have realized sooner and said this to you earlier. It's because of me because I couldn't make a clean break that you've probably been suffering all this time, right? Ethan said guiltily. I'm really sorry. Melina fell silent on the other end. Ethan waited quietly. After a long time, Melina's voice came through, choked with tears. It's okay, Ethan bro. You don't need to apologize. My feelings for you are my own business. I can understand if you don't want to be bothered. Melina's voice grew thicker with tears, and she began to sob. Actually, I was planning to tell you that we should stop seeing each other. I'd already made up my mind, but I just can't stop crying, sniff. Melina's voice grew weaker until finally, all Ethan could hear was her crying. After a long time, Melina gradually regained her composure and said, word by word, Ethan bro, can you grant me one last request? Go ahead. The Festival of Lights. Can we meet one last time on that day? Melina bit her lip hard. Just once. After that, I promise I'll never contact you or bother you again. The Festival of Lights. Ethan lowered his eyes, and his gaze inadvertently fell upon his desk. On it sat an exquisitely crafted lantern flower. He had made it for Lucia, intending to give it to her on the day of the festival. I'm sorry, Melina. I can't grant you that request, Ethan said softly. On the day of the Festival of Lights, I have someone very important to see. That sentence completely shattered Melina's last line of defense. A long time later, Melina's voice came again, just a few words. Okay, I understand. Melina hung up and threw her phone aside. The emotion she had just managed to suppress came rushing back, and tears streamed down her face. Melina sat on her bed, hugging her knees. Her sobs were silent. In her hand, she also held an exquisitely crafted lantern flower. She had made it herself, for Ethan. In his room, Ethan felt just as terrible. He and Melina had been childhood friends. In terms of time spent together, he had known Melina the longest. If it was first come, first served, Melina was there first. But love never played by those rules. I hope that girl can move on, Ethan murmured to himself, then let out a long sigh. He was about to go back to dinner when he opened his door and froze. What are you doing here? Ethan looked at Leo, speechless. Leo was leaning against the wall opposite his door, holding his burrito and staring at Ethan with wide eyes. Munch, munch, munch. You say such harsh things to her. Munch, munch, munch. Melina must be so heartbroken. Munch, munch, munch. I never realized before. Munch, munch, munch. You're actually munch, munch, munch a player. Ethan's mouth twitched. You were eavesdropping, you little punk? Do you ever do anything decent? Who asked for your opinion? Go eat your burrito. Hey, don't go. Leo quickly grabbed Ethan. I need to talk to you about something important. You don't have anything important to say. You just listen at doors. TSK, looking down on me now, are we? Leo scoffed. I'm being serious. The Festival of Lights is in a couple of days, and I don't know how to make a lantern. So, you make one for me. Get lost. Ethan flipped Leo off. Why don't you just go die? You wanted to make you a lantern? You wanted to deliver it for you, too? Hey, just kidding. At least tell me how to make one. I can't figure out the way you guys do it here in Westlake City. Didn't you say only idiots believe in that stuff? You've been calling me an idiot for ages. What's the difference? Hurry up, Leo said, unconcerned. He'd already thrown his dignity out the window, so what did a little pride matter? Ethan was speechless. The melancholy mood from before had been completely shattered by Leo. He said irritably, I'll send you a tutorial video later. Make it yourself. With that, he disgustedly shook off Leo's hand. He sniffed his sleeve. It reeked of burrito. For a moment, Ethan considered just throwing the jacket away. The two returned to the dining table and continued their meal. Where did you go just now? Ava asked when Leo came back, handing him his phone. Professor Miller just called for you. I didn't dare answer. Old man Miller? Leo wiped his hands with a napkin and took the phone. Without trying to hide it from anyone, he called the professor back. Hello? Leo, what were you doing? Why didn't you answer my call? I was in the bathroom. Didn't hear it. At that, everyone at the table gave Leo a strange look. They remembered him leaving with his burrito. He eats in a bathroom. Ava frowned, looking at Leo with disgust. Had his obsession with Inferno burritos reached that level? Leo, completely oblivious to their expressions, continued. Professor Miller, why are you calling me at this hour? Is something wrong? You have the nerve to ask? You've been in Westlake City for this long and haven't called me once, the professor said irritably. I'm calling to remind you to prepare for the nationals. Don't just fool around. You hear me? Whatever you're dealing with, big or small, put it aside for now. If you run into any trouble, call me immediately, understand? Whether I get tenure this year depends entirely on you, kid. So no matter what happens, tell me, and I'll sort it out for you, understand? The professor's 3 consecutive understands were starting to grate on Leo's ears. But knowing how much this competition meant to him, Leo quickly reassured him. Yeah, I know, Professor Miller. You know what I'm capable of. I could take first place in my sleep. Those scrubs at the Nationals aren't even a challenge for me. I could fill out the answer sheet with my feet and still score higher than them. At that, Ethan immediately looked annoyed. Who was he calling a scrub? He was also a participant in the Nationals. Leo's words were an insult to him, too. He glared at Leo. If he dared to run his mouth one more time, Ethan would throw a knife and give him a middle part. Luckily, Leo didn't say anything further. All right. I won't disturb your rest then. Remember, if anything happens, call me. I'll do my best to help you. The professor hung up. Leo put down his phone. Mister. I looked at him with interest. Leo, was it your academic advisor? Yeah. He called to give me a little reminder. Leo scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed. You know how it is, Uncle Sia. I've always been a good, honest kid, so all my teachers really like me. Mister. Sia sipped his soup without a word. Ava and Kane looked at Leo in disbelief. How could he say that with a straight face? Good and honest? He wasn't a single one of those things. Seeing that no one was responding, Leo didn't feel awkward at all. He had the credentials to back it up. Honor roll student on the record. Good Citizen Award, BSO, certified. He had proof from all sides that he was a good person. Suddenly, he noticed Ava seemed a little troubled. He quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Ava pouted slightly and said in a low voice, "I've eaten too much these past 2 days in Westlake City. I think I've gained weight." She hadn't been watching her diet at all, what with all the barbecue and beer. And today, another huge meal. She didn't even dare to step on a scale, because she knew the number would have gone up. Leo looked Ava over confused. What did she look like she'd gained weight? The places that were supposed to be full were still full, but everything else seemed fine. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Leo's eyes. He leaned in close to Ava and whispered in her ear, "I have a great way to lose weight. Want to try it?" At that, Ava looked at him suspiciously. "Really? Of course. Well, have I ever lied to you? Then tell me. This method, we have to be back at the hotel to do it. And it can be a little intense." Hearing this, Ava looked at Leo warily. She had a feeling he was up to no good. After dinner, Mr. Sia had originally intended for Leo and the others to stay the night. The Sia residence had plenty of empty rooms. Ava and Kane had already politely declined. "But that would be great," Leo said, his eyes shining brightly. "We'll go back for one last night, check out tomorrow, and bring all our luggage over. We can even save on the hotel fees." "Thank you so much, Uncle Sia," Leo said, shaking Mr. Sia's hand with a grateful smile. "We're strangers here in Westlake City. Since you've been so kind as to offer, we won't be polite. This is really so kind of you, hee. Mr. Sia's mouth twitched. He couldn't see a single trace of politeness in the kid, but it didn't matter. It was just a few more people. The Sia family could certainly afford it. After leaving the Sia residence, the 3 of them were walking back to the hotel. "Leo, will it be too much trouble for them if we stay at their place?" Kane couldn't help but ask. "Kane, my friend," Leo said with a slight sigh. "I'm your superior now, you know. So, don't call me by my first name from now on. Then what should I call you?" "Boss, Your Majesty, or the Burrito King will do." Kane fell silent. He hadn't called him that embarrassing name in a long time, and the last time he had, no one else was around. He couldn't bring himself to say it in front of Ava. "Are you worried about something?" Ava asked. Knowing Leo, his desire to move into the Sia residence was about more than just saving money on a hotel room. Sure enough, at Ava's question, Leo nodded, his expression serious. "I have a feeling something big is about to happen in Westlake City. Staying at the Sia residence will, for one, guarantee our safety. And 2, the Vance Dominion and the Thorne family won't dare to make a move on us so easily." That's what he said, but in his heart, Leo had 2 even more important reasons. 1, he had taken a liking to the burritos the Sia family chef made. 2, he really couldn't stand the environment of his cheap hotel anymore. He had gotten a good look around, and the Sia residence was incredibly comfortable. It was what you'd expect from a major syndicate family. Since Leo had put it that way, Ava and Kane had no choice but to agree. The thought of having to pack up and move again tomorrow made Ava feel tired. Leo, on the other hand, didn't have much to pack. He had come to Westlake City with just a backpack. "Hey, why are you coming in here?" Seeing Leo follow them into the hotel, Kane asked, confused. Isn't your room across the street? Why do you care so much? Leo said, annoyed. I'm not staying with you, so why does it matter to you where I go? Ava walked ahead silently. If you're not staying with me, then you must be staying. Kane's words trailed off. His eyes widened as he looked at the silent Ava walking ahead of them. Then he looked at Leo. Kane understood instantly. He quietly gave Leo a thumbs up. You're something else, kid. Kane sidled up to Leo and teased. Already sharing a bed. Huh? That was fast. What are you thinking? Leo gave Kane a slightly disgusted look and said righteously, we have a pure and innocent relationship. Are there impure ones? Of course. Like Ethan Xia, Leo whispered. I bet you he and Lucia Shang didn't meet on a reputable platform. Wanna bet? Don't talk to me. Kane moved away from Leo. Why? Leo didn't understand. I'm afraid that when Lucia arrests you, she'll think I'm your accomplice. Kane was speechless. Did this guy have any filter at all? Who was Lucia Shang? A grade 1 inspector at the West Lake City BSO. For that comment alone, she could have him arrested for slander and sent to make license plates. Kane opened his door, quickly slipped inside, and slammed it shut. He didn't want to say another word to Leo. He didn't even want to see him. TSK still so emotionally unstable. Leo shook his head. Kane really needed to work on his emotional control. Then, with a light spring in his step, he followed Ava into her room. As soon as they were inside, Ava looked at Leo helplessly. All right, out with it. What's your weight loss method? Though she didn't expect him to suggest anything sensible, you never knew. What if just this once Leo was being serious? Hee. Let me tell you, I don't usually share this method with anyone, Leo said with a grin. What's there to hide? Because this method is very intense. It makes your heart race, and it makes you breathe heavily. He paused, then added, and it's best to have someone with you when you do it. At that, Ava's face immediately turned red, though it was unclear what she was thinking. You're not talking about that, are you? She stammered. Panic began to set in. She never thought Leo would be so forward, wanting to do that with her right away. She was caught off guard, not prepared at all. Leo, you pig. At the same time, she was a little curious. Could doing that really help you lose weight? She remembered Quinn once saying that doing that kind of thing was good for a girl's skin. But she never said anything about weight loss. Yes, that's it, Leo said excitedly. So you know, Ava's blush had spread all the way to her ears. But I'm not ready. It's fine. You'll get into it once we start. Leo paused, and seeing how nervous Ava was, he said softly, it's okay. I'll be with you the whole time. Ava lowered her head, her mind in turmoil. To do it or not to do it? That was the question. Deep down, she was willing to give her first time to Leo. After all, she had decided he was the one. She wanted to spend the rest of her life with him. But wasn't this a little too rushed? Finally, Ava took a deep breath and made up her mind. Since Leo had taken the initiative, how could she back down? It was going to happen sooner or later anyway. As long as they use protection, it should be fine, right? So, I'll go take a shower first. Ava asked tentatively. Okay, I'll go out and buy some things. Let me in when you're done, Leo said with a nod, then walked out. Watching his retreating back, a thought suddenly crossed Ava's mind. Get some things? He's not going to. By protection, is he? Ava covered her face in embarrassment, feeling her heart pound. At the same time, she felt a flicker of anticipation.